Welcome to ConneXions 18. This year, everything is real.
We have to own the subscriber experience.
Thanks to these ecosystems, the options of solutions are immense. We want you to have choice.
Wi-Fi has transformed itself in the home. It's now like electricity in the water. Turn electricity and water off in the home, everybody screams. Turn the Wi-Fi off, someone's out for blood.
Once imagined, now real, when applied by all of our customers, really means you're becoming a disruptor.
We just launched the world's greatest gateway ever. Nobody can compete with us. As you go through ConneXions over the next couple days, that's what we're going to be sharing. How you can learn from these companies, how you can share the things that you've done, and how we can all come together to all be more successful together.
But without any action, you will find yourself into a utility role that you did not pick. And at that point, you will no longer be smart. You will still be a utility.
AR and VR are going to become real with this network, and we've seen it. It works. It's in production. You guys can bank on this coming.
And if you're building networks with a long view, OpEx kicks CapEx straight off the screen when it comes to cost.
Our customers, you in the audience, are transforming the lives of your subscribers and your communities.
The big story is all about the last 10 years and the next 10 years. Want to see what's coming next?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Marketing Officer, Calix, Matt Collins.
All right. Thank you very much. So I hope everyone had a great day yesterday. I know many of you have come up and shared your thoughts and your reactions, and I really appreciate the feedback. It was a really exciting day for all of us. First of all, I hope everyone enjoyed the entertainment last night. I think, Ryan was truly amazing, and it's always a great way to end the day with some fun. But we had a lot of highlights. I want to thank all of our partners and customers who joined us yesterday. It was an exciting day. And in fact, we even had a special mystery guest that was a surprise for me, this guy, Michael Weening or something like that. I don't know, for you all know him. I know him as Michael Weening, but apparently there's a little bit of a mystery. I think it's Michael Veining appropriately, but you run a big conference, you end up with things like that happen. So it was wonderful to have a mystery guest. I also wanted to just highlight that there were some super exciting things, and today's going to be just as exciting. A couple personal favorites for me. I hope everyone enjoyed the new showcase layout. One of the key things we wanted to do there was bring our partners forward and our sponsors forward more into the experience, because they are an integral part of everything that we do every day. I hope everyone liked the new display for the smart home technology. We tried to include a lot of very interesting and exciting capabilities. One of my favorites is there's actually a smart mousetrap in there. If you go find it, it's pretty interesting. Our head of sales for cloud and our smart home solutions, Stephen Ayer, actually, that was the #1 thing he wanted. I can't figure out why, but apparently that's the kind of thing that happens when you enter a new space. There's exciting new technologies that you can't predict. But clearly, there was a lot of energy and a lot of excitement around how we're going to work with all of you to transform this subscriber experience and take control of the smart home opportunity. All of your subscribers are looking for someone to come in, take the complexity out of the capabilities, provide the services, and it's a tremendous revenue opportunity. Today, we hope to blow you away with some incredible capabilities for the access network. Carl laid out a vision of the network of the future. He talked about the fact that everything we talked about last year in terms of the capabilities, the technologies, the subscriber devices, they're only accelerating the demands on your networks. The future, 5G, Wi-Fi 6, those capabilities are tailor-made for the networks that you guys are all building with us. But the really, really exciting news is as Verizon's putting that technology into market, they're already seeing tremendous benefits. So Lee talked about things that used to take 2 years, taking 3 months. That is a radical step forward. 2 years, 3 months. I just want everyone to just think about that. That's not theory, right? That's not, hey, we hope that when we're done with this, we're going to go from 2 years to 3 months. That's reality. And that's our goal, is to arm you with the capabilities to radically simplify the way you build and run your networks and transform your companies. So what we're going to hear next is incredibly exciting for us, and I think it'll be exciting for all of you. It's the next step in the future of the next generation network. With that, cue the video.
It's happening now. A transformation of monumental proportions. One that will be led by a software-defined access network that thinks for itself, that heals itself, that enables system upgrades in the blink of an eye. Simplifying every part of your business in every way. It's an always-on platform that eliminates maintenance windows, truck rolls, and in the process, your competition. AXOS is the world's only modular architecture that allows you to simplify your business, enabling new services to subscribers faster, accelerating your time to revenue, and opening new revenue streams sooner. Harness the power of a simplified OSS integration with a hardware abstraction layer and a common set of capabilities, all designed to collapse the CO and allow you to deploy next-generation networks across your region. Control every aspect of the network, from the central office to the subscriber edge. Build the ecosystem of tomorrow. Simplify everything right now with us. What was once imagined is now real.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Executive Vice President, Field Operations, Calix, Michael Vaining.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Over the last 10 years, you've heard Carl up on this stage and other stage talking about this map. He's been talking about the future. And it's always come back to one thing. His message has always been very consistent. The device-enabled subscriber is going to blanket your networks with applications, demand more and more every single day. They're going to require you to go to a 24/7 operation. And every single day that goes by, as he spoke about yesterday, they're going to talk about operating costs and how do you reduce those so that you can be successful in the long term. In all of these scenarios, Carl has always been consistent. And the theme in this convention, which we've talked about multiple times, is that was what we were talking about in the future and how we were going to project to get to a better place. And now we're going to, let's make it happen, let's make it real. And the reality is, from an innovation and a competition point of view, we have to make it real because competition never stops. If you didn't hear last week, Comcast said everybody has a gig. If you hear later on today, you're going to hear from Surrey Fiber, and they're going to talk about how they're completely transforming the UK market, how they're creating a software-based access network that provides gigabit fiber to over 5 million people in the environment, allowing companies like Vodafone and others to be wildly successful. You heard from Lee about Verizon. Matt talked about the gains that they're driving with their one network strategy, and that's all around how do we change the game with 5G. And yesterday we talked about the subscriber. We talked about how that home is being invaded. If we don't change the game, move faster, we will not win. And the reality is that the industry doesn't want you to change. The industry loves complexity, because complexity in the networking industry means you pay more money. If they look at it and they say, don't go to one network, stay on a business network, a consumer network, and if you're mobile, stay on a mobile network, because that means you buy 3 times. And then what they do is they say, look, okay, so if you need to fix this, don't actually transform yourself. Do this, buy XGS. Just buy a bigger, dumber pipe. And then they throw out things like, well, XGS, the nice thing is that it's almost the same price as PON, as GPON. Who cares? That doesn't change the game. A bigger, fatter pipe isn't solving for the problem that you're running 3 networks. It doesn't solve for the problem that your central office looks like this. It's access, aggregation, a subscriber management BNG system. You have to do lawful intercept, and then you have a PE router. You have 5 different systems that you have to figure out how to cobble them together and make them all work. You have 5 different teams that every day gets up and wrestles with this beast and has 5 different operating procedures, 5 different ways to do it, and at any point in time, one of them's breaking. And then you got to go through and you got to figure out, well, which one of those broke? Which one should I fix? It doesn't solve the problem. So now the industry is going to go to the next step, and what they're starting to do is they're saying, you know what, okay, complexity, you buy a bigger pipe, yeah, this is a problem, but really the problem is its hardware costs. So what we're going to do is we're going to do virtualization. We're going to do NFV. I'm going to stand up on this stage and say NFV is bull, because NFV doesn't solve anything, and there's 2 reasons why. The first, no vendor wants to do NFV. No vendor wants to virtualize their software. Why? Because as soon as they virtualize it and you put it on x86, what they're doing is they're giving up their IP and this big fat chunk of hardware revenue that drives their business. The second part of it is NFV is nonsense because it doesn't fix this problem. If you have a virtual edge router and a virtual BNG and virtual aggregation and virtual access and all these different things, you still have to figure out how to make them all work together. It's just that they sit on a VM on a single server. It doesn't solve the problem. And Carl was really clear yesterday. The challenge in the network is not the price of a box. The challenge in the network is not CapEx. Yes, we have CapEx. We need to figure out how to optimize it and all those things. But the cost in your network is your operating costs. And so then they go to the next step and they say SDN. SDN is fantastic as a universal way to get everybody to connect. But what they've done is they've bastardized SDN. Because what they're doing is they're introducing something called an orchestrator. Some people call it SD access. What is that? That's middleware. That's middleware 5.0. I've been in the computer industry for 30 years, and every single year it's middleware, middleware. What is middleware? Middleware, sorry to offend, is lipstick on a pig. All you're doing is you're taking your legacy systems and you're putting something on top of it called an orchestrator. An orchestrator doesn't fix anything. It just hides the fact that your vendors have not done the hard work. They actually haven't changed the underlying systems. They're just trying to hide it with something called SD access, called an orchestrator. It's the same thing that they've been selling you for 20 years. And we say this, we say reject the industry, reject complexity. Embrace simplification. Embrace one network. Change for the long term. We say embrace operational simplicity. Don't have 5 teams fighting all together. Make them one team. And then the last thing we say, embrace new business models. The reality is, the reason why our systems from yesterday that we talked about is not at Best Buy, the reason why the systems that we're doing with you are not anywhere else is because we believe in you. You are the only vendor or the only industry that we sort and work with. We don't go out to other markets. We're not trying to expand that way. We believe you can win. But the only way you win is through simpler business models. And what does simplification look like? Well, to start, it looks like this. One network. Collapse that network. Not just a fatter, bigger, dumber pipe. One network. And that network becomes powerful with this. AXOS. An operating system that we re-architected over the last 8 years with the smartest people in the industry. We invested over $600 million building it. And that system can go anywhere in your network outside of the data center. It can sit in a CO, it can sit in a hardened cabinet, or it can go up on a pole. It doesn't matter. It's all the same software, so you can decide what's the right place to put an application. And last year, we started a big thing. We started to collapse the CO. And the first step, subscriber management. The BNG. Don't buy a BNG. by subscriber management, integrated into a single platform. Now you've got your access and aggregation team and your BNG team, subscriber team, operating as one unit. We announced layer 2, layer 3, and today Michelle's going to come up and talk about the next big announcement, and that's where we start taking functions from the PE router, subscriber functions like MPLS and VPN, and collapse them into the network. Don't have other systems. Reject 5 systems, get to 1. And now I know we have a wide range of customers in here. We have everyone from Verizon to companies who have 2,000 subscribers. And they always say the same thing to me. Yeah, that's Verizon. It's really great that they're doing all those kind of things, but I'm just a small company. You built it for Verizon. I am going to say this on this stage for the last time. And I want every single person in this room to listen really carefully who's a small customer. AXOS went to 100 companies in this room way before Verizon deployed their very first system. We built AXOS for our small customers, and we scale up. And if you don't believe that business model works, look at Salesforce, where I came from. Spent 4 years there. Why is Salesforce crushing all of their competition? Well, I'll tell you why they're crushing SAP. SAP started at the enterprise, built a big monster system, and tried to scale it down. Scale down never works. Salesforce built it for the small business and scaled up, and they're destroying everybody. We did the same thing. In this room, companies like City of Sandy can deploy the same technology at Verizon. This is a revolution. Usually you have to wait till it cascades down to you. Now, you did it before Verizon. It came out with GFast. And whether you're deploying one system or you're like Verizon and deploying thousands of systems, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. And for the people in this room who continue to doubt, I'm going to put the nail in the coffin one more time with one other story, and that's GLDS. Great Lakes Data Systems supports small companies. 2,000 subscribers, 5,000 subscribers, 10,000 subscribers, right? They're not running Verizon, 100,000 subscribers. GLDS was one of the first companies who introduced AXOS, again, on GFast, and the first time they did it, 4 months. That was their first integration. Traditionally, an integration like that would take 18 months or longer, 4 months. Then they did the E92, 4 weeks. A couple weeks ago, they did the E72, days. So Verizon said, I did this in 2 years, and now I can do it with the AXOS in 3 months. GLDS is doing it in days. That is changing your business. That's the opportunity that every single person in this room has. And if you don't think that we understand the challenges with this, because yeah, it's great on Greenfield, but how do you actually take my legacy systems over time and how do I succeed over the long term? Understand that we continue to change. Our services organization is focused on fixing this problem. Please talk to them on the other side. The first is AXOS enablement services, so very focused on how you transform your network. Take the next couple years and make that transformation. We'll help you map it out. The second is training. I have personally pushed into our budgets 4 times the amount of investment in content to create amazing training so that you in this room can learn how to do it. Regardless of if it's going to take you a year or 10 years, we're going to teach you how. And then last, we're going to build new services that help you change everything. And I'm going to tell you one service you should go see the demo of. It's called Remote Monitoring and Notification. We rolled it with our first customer, and it allows us to monitor your network and then give you great best practice feedback and interaction changes and all those kind of things. And with that service, we help them reduce their alarms and change their processes by 85% in 2 weeks. It's a new world, and we're here to help. And with that, I'd like to invite someone up to the stage who's going to help us envision making it real. From City Fiber, are we watching the video first, I believe, yes? Clayton? I don't know. Clayton's up next. Welcome, Clayton from City Fiber.
Sorry, I love the video. Great introduction, thank you. Good. Morning,
Morning, everyone. Michael's obviously had at least 2 cups of coffee this morning. We love that passion. We love that story. We want to disrupt an industry just like Michael's doing. We just want to do it to the 5th largest economy in the world. So that's our vision. We were discussing last night over drinks. Caroline Hughes, who's responsible for these slides, made a great observation. She said, the theme of this conference is the theme of our business. 7 years ago, City Fiber was a few people around a desk with a network they'd bought for $1 and a vision. 7 years later, we're on the cusp of changing a country. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about what that country looks like, how we got to this position where we're able to change it, and why Calix is such a great partner for us in what we're doing. So we'll start with, why were we given this opportunity? The UK is about 66 million people, 25 million homes. In American context, it would fit in this ballroom, but we think it's quite big. And it's traditionally been run by British Telecom, the incumbent who covers the whole country, and Virgin, owned by Liberty Media, and those two guys have been running a copper network for the last 100 years and serving customers badly. They've created the opportunity for us to disrupt the space. Because back in 2011, when we were just being formed, there was no fiber to the home in the UK. The UK, 5th largest economy in the world, was 35th in broadband standings and dropping. Everything was running about copper. They were talking about maybe going to fiber to the cab. GFAS was a gleam in someone's eye. They left the door open for us to do this. The UK is going through a series of changes at the moment. I don't know if you've heard of Brexit, as we decide how our relationship with the European Union changes. America, of course, had its own version of Brexit back in 1776. Seems to be working out for you so far. But we're in a situation where there's a lot more uncertainty. The UK is a service economy. Services run on the internet runs on fiber. And the people who were responsible for delivering fiber weren't. And that gave us the opportunity to step in. But to get here, we needed 3 things to happen. And I'm going to run through them now. The first thing we needed was the right model. We needed to know that we could build a network at the right cost and deliver it to all the right people. And the model that we looked at was a 100% wholesale utility approach. So we're fiber end to end. The only copper we have in our business is the change in my pocket. So we're fiber to every single point in our business. We're wholesale only. That means we can reach 1,500 resellers. We can reach massive customers like Vodafone and drive through their distribution chains. And we can concentrate on building the network. They can concentrate on having a great end-user service experience. That works out really well for us. And then Michael said, you build one network. He had 3 applications. We have 4. So right from the beginning, we've always said, we'll build a network for the first application, and then we'll bootstrap ourselves into the next few. So we started often with public sector, government, local government networks. We did wonderful things like in Edinburgh, we took every high school from a 10 megabit connection for a high school to a gigabit, and we took 50% off the cost of that. It's a transformational thing for kids. In fact, it's transformational for teachers. Have you ever dealt with a teenager who can't get access to Wi-Fi and things are slow? Schools calm down a lot. We also just transformed all the other pieces of the public sector business, right? We brought them into the modern world with fiber. On the business side of things, we deliver through almost 2,000 resellers now. And we start at 500 megs and we go up. We don't even talk about 100 meg services at this point. In the mobile space, we moved a major carrier from a microwave-based system to a full fiber-based system. The day they turned that on, the volume of traffic on that network tripled. So think about that for just a second. For the last 5 years, their customers have been getting 1/3 of what they were paying for, all right? And it happened overnight. You want to understand how well they sell versus everybody else in that space? It's an interesting question. Their market share looks looking pretty good. And lastly, we're now embarking on our final part of the puzzle, which is homes. We had a small experiment a few years ago where we built 14,000 homes up in a city called York. We had our professor of medieval history talk about it yesterday. York is where medieval history's from. So that worked out really well for us. It was a great experiment, but now we're going to pour some gasoline on that process and get going. So that was the first piece. We knew we had a business that worked. We knew we could build one network, we could sell it 4 times, and we could scale up. The next piece we needed was, who were we going to work with to make this reality? Now, I've seen a lot of press releases talk about partnerships, where fundamentally someone's paying somebody else. The partnership consists of sending a purchase order. We don't like those kind of partnerships. We like the kind of partnerships where we're lined up strategically, emotionally, vision-wise with everybody that we work with. So we started with Vodafone. Literally 45 days ago, on the 9th of November, we announced a groundbreaking agreement with Vodafone. 6th largest carrier in the world, 65 countries, something like that. They'd built 10 million lines of fiber to the home themselves in Europe. In the UK, they said, we're not going to do that. We're going to partner with City Fibre. So they agreed we're going to build 1 million homes of coverage. They guaranteed to buy a certain percentage of that. And we're working with them now, and from essentially 11 months ago, we launched live services. This month, take-up's been great. Customer services is wonderful. And Vodafone's delighted, and we're delighted because we're lined up in what we're trying to do there. Then back in the summer, our friends from New York, Goldman Sachs, and our French friends from Anton came to us and said, you can't do this in a world where you're listed on the public stock exchange. So they took us private. That all kind of played out in June, July. And then we spent the last few months talking to them about how this business goes forward and how we do this in a world where we're financed and we're supported by some of the largest companies in the world. And then just a week or two ago, we announced the last piece of the puzzle in terms of our partnerships, which is we said we're deploying the Calix C9. Now, that sounds like a purchase order relationship again, but it's not. As I said, we love Calix because they disrupt things, right? That's how we define what we do, right? Fundamentally, we're the people fighting against the status quo. Michael's passion this morning, that's what we feel every day. So it was a really critical announcement, not simply because they brought to us the right technologies, they brought to us the right price point, brought to us the right platform, but they brought the right attitude as well. With them, we're able to deploy the most intelligent access network in the world as far as we're concerned. When we scale from York, 20,000 homes, something like that, it took us 18 months to build. This time next year, we'll be building that level of homes every week, and we will do that for 5 to 7 years. You can't scale up from a manual process and get that working in that place. You have to have zero-touch provisioning. You have to have no people in the loop, and that's where we are now. When you order a service from Vodafone, you can query, you can order, you can place an appointment, you can have an engineer turn up, you can have everything plugged in, and not a single City Fibre person lifts a finger through that process. I mean, we watch what's going on. We're not sleeping. But we don't have to intervene at any point. And a big part of that was the software-defined structures that are available in the Calix piece that allowed us to integrate into our systems really rapidly. So we completed not only our own integration, but an integration into Vodafone's legacy systems, and we did all that in about 9 months from a standing start. Right? 9 months isn't great compared to 3 months with Verizon, but we'll get there. We'll get there. The last piece of the puzzle, and this is really the most important part, was the money. The last question everyone had was, that's great, you've got the contract with Vodafone, you've got the partnership with Calix, you've got the vision, you have some fiber, how are you going to afford to do it? And last week we were delighted to announce that the board is now backing a £2.5 billion rollout program. 5 million homes, 20% to the UK. It's not 5 million people, Michael, it's more like 15 million people. We've already said we're in 37 cities. We've listed them. We've said this is where we're going. This is our territory. We've already started 7 years ago. We're just taking the same network that we use for your public sector services, that your children use at school, that you use at work to access the internet, that you use when you pick up your mobile phone, and we're going to bring it to your house. And we're going to drive that through the whole length of the UK. You can't read all these cities. Some of you will have been there, but some of them are famous: Edinburgh, Glasgow. We're not going to London. And the critical piece about this is, at a time of significant uncertainty with Brexit, This investment represents a massive dose of confidence in what we're doing. We think this turns into 85 billion pounds worth of economic value. In dollar terms, that's about $100 billion, right? It's a great investment. That's a great return. $3 billion in, $100 billion back. 5,000 jobs across the country at a point where we don't know where we're going. And fundamentally underpinning the transformation of the UK service industry. We don't want to be the 5th largest economy, we want to be 4th, at least. China is a bit of a big target, I think, but we're heading there, we're heading there. So fundamentally, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to take a medieval country, York, London, places where we bury kings in parking lots, drag it into the 21st century, despite the best efforts of the incumbents. We've got the backing of some great partners. We love what Calix are doing. We've got the money. We're going. The UK is coming back. Thank you.
See, Clayton didn't need a video, did he? I love the story about disruption, the way you're completely redefining how you build a network. And what's great is inspiring is the way that you're completely transforming the way that people in your country actually work, live. How many of us work at home now? It's completely transformative versus a small network. Now you have all this choice. So over the conference, you've heard a lot about where we're going with 5G and all those things. So what's City Fiber's thought on that, and how does it impact it?
You know what I love about the Calix platform? We announced it last week. We haven't put it in the ground yet. It's already solving a problem for me. Because now when I sit down with the network operators, 5G for them means moving from a world where they run 15,000, 20,000 mobile towers to 100,000, 1 million small cells. They don't know where they're going to be. And now with the platform with NG.2, we can say, don't worry, you don't need to know where they're going to be. I can put 10 gigs of dedicated bandwidth anywhere in the country, every 10 yards, up every telephone pole, every house, everywhere you want to be. We just removed from the conversation the issue of, I don't know where my small cells are going. And they're loving that. The platform's really working for us. We haven't even put it in place yet.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on all your success. Looking forward to our partnership. Let's give them a big round of applause.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Clayton. Really appreciate it. As I said, big company transforming a country, and I reinforced over and over again, our company is not losing where our roots are. We do all sizes. That's what AXOS is, for everybody. And so now what I'd like to do is invite San Voon from the city of Beverly Hills, and he's going to talk about how they're taking their town and completely transforming themselves from an economic point of view. So come on up, San Voon. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you. All right, good morning. I'm San Wong, and I'm the resident engineer for the City of Beverly Hills Fiber. And this is my first ConneXions attendance, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. The City of Beverly Hills Fiber project is being funded by the city, and will be operated and owned by the city. And what we had envisioned was to offer a triple play service of voice, video, and data to connect over 16,000 homes and businesses, and with approximately 35,000 residents. And we want to offer a competitive price point of $55 per month for a 1 gigabit upstream and downstream plan. And because the city of Beverly Hills has movie producers, stars, high-profile doctors, high-volume stock traders, business owners, large and small, they demand the highest bandwidth, the lowest latency, and the most reliable service out there. So to do this, we had designed to build 7 sites across 5.71 square miles. I mean, I think that's overkill, but we have some very demanding customers. Okay. And also, I don't want to get a phone call from one of the doctors that can't get their MRI scans. In the end, we want to build something that's better, faster, and cheaper than what the incumbent service provider has to offer. So better, cheaper, faster creates some challenges itself. We want to deploy a proven solution. In our previous feasibility studies, we found a GPON and active Ethernet is the solution of choice. And to ensure our customers get that bandwidth, we designed a GPON to be on 1:16 split ratio and deploy 25% of active Ethernet to the footprint. And in partnership with Calix, we found that E7 initially fits that bill. It gives us the technology, it gives us the bandwidth that we need, and it enables us to provide that better, faster, and cheaper solution. But that's not the latest and greatest that the city demands. So let's take a look at what the E7 has to offer us. The E7 gave us everything we needed, and then some. It supports a layer 2 network architecture that we had developed, and it gave us the technology we needed at that time. But project scope changed along the way. And one huge component is that we can no longer use the core network services from the city. Effectively, I have to purchase new routers, new switches, build new servers. Most importantly, how am I going to operate them? So it creates a huge challenge for us. And how do you stay within schedule, stay within budget, and yet accommodate for those changes? I mean, it's a project manager's dream or nightmare, depending on what time of the day. And the way we look at it is if somebody throws you a rock, catch it and try to build something from it. So in late 2017, we heard about the E9. And we heard that it will simplify your network through a collapsed network architecture, and it will enable us to get to the next generation technology that we are looking to. It sounds like somebody else was throwing a bigger rock, and they caught it, and they built something bigger. We looked at the whole network architecture and determined the RPM, which fits what we need to satisfy the requirement for the layer 3 piece of it. The SSM, which take care of the subscriber management piece. And most importantly, we looked at the E9 giving us additional service offering that we had not planned for, such as wireless mesh. And with GPON and active Ethernet, our initial deployment was a 1 gig by 1 gig. And going to the E9, that allows us to shift to the next gen, and we can deploy XGS-PON along with NG-PON2. And XGS-PON, we can offer speed tiers greater than 1 gig in upwards of 10 gig. But overall, some of the other decision factors that we had with the E9 or the construction cost savings, the speed to market, because it's a simplified deployment, and I don't need to purchase the routers and switches and operate it, and it gives us the additional service offering that we're looking for. And with the savings from the CapEx side, we're able to increase our wireless penetration and offer a greater speed tier. And today, we have 19 chassis installed over 4 sites rather than 7. And we have a fully functional lab offering triple play service. Okay. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, San. I love the way that you're taking the economic growth of this very downtrodden city and driving growth. So that's fantastic. So you talked about your migration to AXOS and the E9 too, but what you left out was you had to make a decision. Initially, you were going to go E7.2 with AXOS, and then as we started to roll it out and talk to you about what's the future, how do you build your network, you made a change. So why did you do that?
Well, we're looking at the fact that it's a leap forward in technology. We're taking from active GPON with active Ethernet that offers a single gig service. Now we can realize XGS-PON and GPON2. So the XGS-PON giving us 10 gig capability, it's a huge marketing play for us. Being in the city, they want the latest and greatest. If you get 1 gig by 1 gig service, the neighbors are going to want something like a 2 by 2. If you get 2 by 2 down the street, they want something higher. Right. So we want to offer that additional service. Additionally, with the E7, we had a refresh schedule of about 5 years to look at, do we need to replace it? Now we're leaping forward to E9. We don't need to do that. We can extend that refresh outlook further. And going to the E9 with the budget savings, both from a CapEx and construction, inside plant, outside plant, that's huge. Because on an inside plant standpoint, we took the savings that we have from 7 sites down to 4 sites. We put that money into building the infrastructure, such as doubling the battery backup capacity. But we also shifted the savings to the wireless service offering. Initially, we did not plan to offer any wireless service. We just want to give a small amount of wireless-enabled ONTs out there, and we can toggle that switch if the customer wants it on and off. And we felt that we weren't ready to support such a complex wireless option, just because we were fully aware that the demanding clients in the city, any jitters, any lag, we will get a phone call. But we had an opportunity to look at the E9 and the cloud support services that support the E9 and the wireless, and with the self-heal options, the troubleshooting options, and some of the marketing tool options, we felt comfortable in offering the wireless mesh. But most importantly, it actually allows us to stay in schedule and stay within budget, because when the scope change occurred, we were told your budget is fixed. That's it. You cannot go back and ask for any more funds. So now we're looking at, okay, how are we going to find the extra $1 million, $2 million to purchase the core network gears, the routers, the BNGs, the servers, and all the supporting tools? That's all built into the E9. But most importantly, I think, is that because our customers demand the latest and greatest, the E9 actually will help us fulfill that commitment to our customers.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Congratulations and good luck. Thank you. Thank you, San. So we showed you 2 ways, a big company, a small company, and how they're actually going to transform their network. The key thing at the end that San said is that this is a choice that you have to make, and you need to get educated on it. And like I said, it's our job as a company to be your trusted advisor to help you through this. We have a huge number of solution specialists and other folks on the team that will help you work through where do you go over the long term. And it doesn't have to be about, I need to flip tomorrow. It could be 1 year from now. It could be 5 years from now. But it's our job to help you build that path. And with that, I'm really excited to invite Michelle Langlois up, who's going to walk you through what I just talked about, how we take our technology to that next step with a huge investment around collapsing the CO with ARM. Please welcome Michelle to the stage.
Thanks. Hi. Good morning. For the folks that are in engineering live stream, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and probably good night for some of you. First announcement. We figure out a ways to double the productivity of engineering over 4 days. We send all the executives from Calix here, and we let them loose, and they get excited, and they're going to do a much better job. So let's talk about this. What's the journey? I mean, Carl spoke about this, Michael and Shane. It comes with a sense of purpose, if you want, and it's personal. So the journey, if I step back, for us and for me, started not 10 years ago, but 4 years ago. And why 4 years ago? First, if I try to go back in time more, I'm going to fall down. But the reality is I started 4 years ago in the company. And what got me excited about Calix is the idea to rethink everything. Because if you want to have innovation, you have to be willing to do disruption. And you have to be willing to challenge everything that you know. Otherwise, you just do a better mousetrap. And if you don't believe me, go in the back, in the booth, and you're going to see one which AI in the back. Wi-Fi enabled. This is amazing. You can do these things. But that's not the goal we set up to our engineer. We said 4 years ago, how did the network look like in access? It looks like this. Traditional ways to do it, if you want. Yes, 4 years ago, we had a goal. We said we're going to have gigabit speed in 50 cities. Remember that time? And we're going to populate gigabit speed. We also say for the first time at Calix, do we leave the ONT outside, or do we just turn it around and put it inside? But if you look at the state of the business, the way we were designing those networks, it was the same old ways to think about it. So we set up the course to say there got to be a better way, and that's the journey I'm going to talk to you in a minute. So let's talk about it. We were building at that time the next generation of operating system just for access. We're a pure play company. We're not trying to build something to be the mother of all. Been there, done that. We said there has to be a better way, and it starts with the software. That's the brain. But the goal we set at the time was to say this AXOS is going to have to do better than before. Can it help to simplify your network, your business, and your operation? Kind of easy to say. You just say to your engineer, oh, do that. How hard could it be? It took a lot of work. It took a lot of effort, time, business, and money. And this is something that was great we could do. But let's talk about the result right now. So the mission for us started with, can we rethink essentially this part? Starting not from the traditional ways of designing this way, but go the other way. What can we do starting from the subscriber to change everything? And this is a story about speed, feed, and reach. We anticipate that you're going to need gigabit speed. Not simply because as you're going to consume it yourself, but the new world of machine to machine, the new world of autonomous system, the new world of 5G is going to force essentially more speed in the network. So we look at aggregation, we look at place in the network, and the first constraint we say to our engineer, it cannot be dictated by the physical layer anymore. The experience should be independent of copper, coax, fiber, and mobile. Eliminate that. Has to be the same experience. And in 2016, if I jump to that time, by the way, I practiced yesterday the backflip. And I was like, if I could do it on the stage and Calix can see me over and over, that would be great, but I'll do it next time. So we did it, we basically introduced, pushing the network was the E3, the remote node. We also introduced G.fast. All those products and those capabilities were around enabling the journey of gigabits Ethernet, if you want. Starting with Verizon and some of the early adopters of NG-PON2, we started to pave the path toward that capability of NG-PON2. That's going to change everything. And if you don't believe me, go into the breakout. There's a great session about what NG-PON2 can do on your network moving forward. But this is what's about speed, feed, and reach. And then we say, OK, we're here now. What do we do? Well, we realized there was this little box called an OLT. What can we do with that one? How are we willing to change the common thinking, how this thing is designed? If you could go back to the previous slide, please. So when we look at the ONT, it was one step closer to the edge. We asked ourselves, what kind of capabilities and function could we embed into this product? There's intelligence out there that could benefit more to bring it closer if you want. And that's the thing that led us to think about integration of routing, integration of lawful intercept, integration of BNG, because this is an act of integration. If you integrate capabilities, you reduce the cost, you reduce the complexity, you solve problem of scale, because now you have an ability to make decisions locally and enforce real-time things. You can make the network more dynamic, and that's the path we took. And that's what the path that Shane presented last year when we introduced RPM. We also look into what class of system we're going to build. Do we build a traditional chassis-based? Do we build a modular? We had great product that do that purpose. But we wanted to take a page of the data center. Is there are ways to take advantage of disaggregation from a cost perspective, from a scale, from a compute? And that's created the new form factor that we call the E9. And that was to give you a ways to scale on your network in the different ways. Well, we're not done. We're here now. And today we're really proud to introduce what's going to be the other element that can unify business, that can unify residential, that can unify the world of mobile into what we call the advanced routing module. This is the capabilities of a PE router integrated into the OLT, but also bringing you other capacity next adjacent to it. So our commitment to you is we don't want to move technology that doesn't matter, doesn't add anything. We're not interested in this thing. We're interested to do the right thing, and this is an exciting time because in addition of adding the advanced routing, we're going to change the aggregation. We're also going to give you a lot more port and density at better cost, so you can retire that complexity and take advantage of it. Because the new world of tomorrow, which is today, is happening now. And we want to design those products, not forcing you to think greenfield and brownfield. Doesn't matter. We understand investment protection. We understand there's ability to think it in the different ways in the greenfield. Our commitment is we're not going to force you in a path. That's a commitment. The second commitment I want you to understand is our desire is to stay in access. Because sometimes we get the comment, well, you're going to try to do a router or a switch. I've done that enough. We are a pure play. We're going to build technology for access and solely for access, and we're the only vendor that do that. All the other, they get confused into enterprise, service provider, 7 domain of networking. We're pure play, and we will remain because the success has been having you as our customer. So that is our commitment. Let's not be confused about that. But underneath that, all that technology and where we're going to bring in, there is an operating system. We redesigned from white sheet of paper, AXOS, and the journey started 6 to 7 years ago. But we built it in a way that had new capabilities that were unseen in this industry. And a lot of this was around this design. First, abstraction. Abstraction with the silicon. Why? Because we wanted to bring the best of chipset and not be dependent on only one way to do things. That abstraction also allows us from an hardware level, because the software is decoupled also from the hardware, to imagine a world where we can build those systems ourselves, we're pretty good at them, or get a partner build it for us, or you buy the hardware and we instantiate the software, giving you economy of choice, economy of scale, no vendor locking. But we will continue to build the best system we can in access as well. We can do this because we have this abstraction. Other thing, to reduce the cost of operation, we talk a lot about automation of workflow, etc. You have to have a common syntax. You have to have common services. You don't have to retrain and learn different ways every time you have a new product. That's what common services is. That abstraction is the recipe with a standard-based object model to reduce the time of your OSS. Without that, we wouldn't be able to do this. It's modular. I've done modular system that looks like this in the past. We used to call it spaghetti modularity, if you want. We're done. We have containment approach. We took a page of the data center. It's a Docker base. It's allowed virtualization. It's allowed different ways to move the intelligence across. And because of this, we can upgrade. We can repair without interrupts of services. So when you hear about the always on, it's the ability to contain capabilities and contain failure in that module. So when they go wrong, we can upgrade them without breaking everything. That's unique in the industry. I'll challenge everybody about that one. And last, are you going to be a proprietary system like everybody else? We're not. We leverage the industry. Everything is standard-based. We don't do vendor extension. We're also going to embrace partnership. If you think you have a better module than us, or the capabilities you want, let's talk. We have an ability to make it extensible by us, or by partner of us. And Avi's going to be there in a minute talking about this, how exciting what we've done with Infosys on that front. So why does it matter to have that level of modularity? Is as you deploy the same capability everywhere, it matures faster. It gets stabilized. And that's the trick to have high quality. This is also the trick to avoid to retest everything all the time. That's the reason we build it this way. But talking about an OS that only exists in one platform, in one system, makes nothing. The reason of having a platform is to build a family of product with it. to build the right compute, the right size compute, the right capabilities, the right form factor in the right place in the network. We have now, this year, by now, for the first time, a complete portfolio, including the E7-2. And this portfolio will also support Active Ethernet user. Finally, we've done it. We also have those modules that we're going to bring and bridge across. And the point for us is to understand one thing. We will centralize what we can. We will distribute what we should. And we're not afraid to cannibalize ourselves in this process. This is our commitment again. On this, we have now, let me unleash you, the family of product. I welcome you to go in the back. You'll see all this innovation. You can touch it. You can talk to our expert. We have a family, but more important, we do it with partner, and we do it with you. And if we can turn on the light, and for those of you that can still stand up, if you are one of those customers that have the AXOS ribbon, please stand up. Because the one thing we need is to see you, to see what you bring in. Please stand up. Don't be shy. In fact, in a year or two from now, you will resell that ribbon because people are going to want it. Yeah. So what we need from you, for those early adopters, for the people that taking the risk, is passion, is sharing, is communication. And that's why we do those sessions. Without you, we're not going to have the viral effect of this adoption. And that's the only virus that we want you to have, is to get excited about this technology, about what we're going to do with it. And where we're going to bring it tomorrow, we don't know. You will tell us, and we will listen. On that, thank you. Have a good Halloween, by the way, and travel safe.
Go ahead. Thank you very much. Thank you, Michelle. Exciting news. So we've got a bunch of breakout sessions that are going to give you more detail on what we're rolling out and what we just announced. And again, encourage everyone to really go take advantage of those sessions. So just want to close as we go to break and deliver a couple of key messages. The first one is, when Clayton talked about the investment that's coming to them to invest in their access networks, it ties back to the point Carl made yesterday, that when you see that kind of investment coming into our industry, it is a clear signal that there is tremendous opportunity. But another thing that's really, really critical is he used the word partnership. Because the second thing that I've learned from Carl is, you know the industry is healthy when the ecosystem is growing, when people are coming into the industry to build new capabilities, to really turn technology into platforms for growth and innovation. So after the break, we're going to have a session, and we're going to kick it off with 3 industry leaders who are going to talk about how they view the evolving ecosystems around our platforms, but also around all of you. How are ecosystems forming to help support your business? And then we're going to have a couple of guest speakers in Terry O'Reilly, a thought leader and industry pundit who's going to talk to you about how you grow your business and your revenue. And then an inspirational speaker, Leland Melvin, an astronaut, because how can you talk about the future without an astronaut? He's actually more than that. He's a great inspirational speaker. So for those of you who have guests at the conference, we encourage you to invite them to come, because not only will they be informed, but they're going to be inspired. So with that, we're going to go to break, 15 minutes. Please be back promptly at 9:25 so we can get rolling. Thank you very much. Have a great break.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Matt Collins.
Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate you getting back quickly. We've got a jam-packed morning, and we're going to get rolling with our next session. As I alluded to at the start of the break, the next part of our agenda is really focused on ecosystems. Partnership is critical. We can't do everything. You can't do everything. We have wonderful partners who we're starting to work more closely with to try to ensure that not only do we have technology that we're providing, but we're working with all of the different partners, many of our sponsors, to really make sure that whatever capabilities you require to succeed are available to go through the transformation and the evolution that we're all going through. So we've got 3 great guests who are going to come up and offer different perspectives on how they're looking to work to build out the ecosystem of capabilities and support so that all of you can succeed. And so I'm going to introduce our next host, Teresa McGahey.
Thank you, Matt. This world is moving really fast. So just a few short years ago, Carl stood up here and he talked about us all having wearables. And today I stand here with my phone on my wrist. Yesterday also, he showed us a robot that did a flip. Yeah, I think we're going to all talk about the robot. But you know what was really impressive to me was that that robot was actually excited that he achieved that flip. So in a fast-moving world, in order to be successful, we all need partners. Partners can come in the way of, it can be the typical partners that you may have. For instance, that fiber contractor that's putting fiber in the ground so that your subscribers can get broadband. Or that backbone provider that is enabling you to connect your network to content all around the world. Or, if we think out of the box, our partners could be those that provide us great opportunity for innovation. For instance, take this example. NASA and the Lego company. In 2010, they decided to form a partnership. NASA was looking for ways to get kids more excited with space exploration. And Lego, well, they just wanted to sell Legos. So what NASA did was they sent an astronaut into the space and had Legos with him. He built a replica of the International Space Station in space. They took the video of that experience, sent it to kids all in classrooms all around the world. Kids had the opportunity to understand what it would take to build Legos in zero gravity. In the end, this partnership was so successful, both companies were so happy that they have now since, in 2013, signed an indefinite partnership. So as you can see, partnerships can provide an opportunity for mutually beneficial results. And so with that, I'd like to introduce to you some of our ecosystem partners. First up, I'd like to introduce Avi Kolsretta. I knew I would mess that up. From Infosys. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you very much. Teresa, thank you very much. And you are not the only one who gets my surname wrong. So I'm pretty used to it. Even in some of the Indian guys take my name wrong. Thank you very much, guys. Calix, so proud to be part of this whole session. Really very grateful to really have this great time here in last couple of days. Understanding from Carl and from Gartner that how the industry is shifting. What I'm going to do is to really split this whole presentation of next 10 minutes into 3 parts. The part 1 would be about Infosys, that who we are, what we stand for. Part 2 would be around that, how do we see the telecommunication world moving along? And that's the meeting point between Calix and ourselves. A couple of years ago, we decided that we want to work with each other because we have a meeting of minds based on the view that we had on the telecommunication world. And then last but not the least is that what exactly do we do for Calix and what is future behold for us? So let me just quickly start with Infosys. So we are a service provider, IT, technology, and consulting company headquartered in India, Bangalore. We have around 200,000 people work within the organization, spread across 50 countries where we cater to our customers. We have around 115 nationalities represented in our workforce. And we've been known by some people for system integration and outsourcing kind of a business. The revenue is around $10 billion US, and we do, I think our market cap based on the stock price today is somewhere around 37 billion to 40 billion US dollar. Essentially, we are a company who's looking at industry segments are disrupted like never before. So this $10 billion comes from various parts. So we have financial services, healthcare, insurance. We have manufacturing. We have oil and gas. We have the communication, media, and entertainment, and high-tech business. So all of these industry verticals are really being disrupted. And that's why navigating your next is the motto that we adopt. So what we are seeing is automobile business has been disrupted by mobility aggregator, by automated car manufacturers, by artificial intelligence, and electric car manufacturers. Similarly, the fintech business is disrupting financial services. And of course, the telecommunication we have talked about in quite a bit of detail. And I've been personally involved in telecommunications business for the last 22 years. So I have seen it transform from where it started, from the copper-based technology to where it is now. While all this disruption is happening, actually our own business is being disrupted as well. So I'm very honest to accept that this has been happening to ourselves. So it is no more replacing 1,000 people, let's say in Connecticut, to 1,000 people in Bangalore. That business is gone. So what we are doing is redefining our own business. And the way we are redefining our own business is by really creating platforms which can provide the technological advancement to our customers. So things like artificial intelligence. We have a largely open source platform that we have created, which is really modernizing the legacy for various customers. We are also retraining our workforces to learn design thinking. So around 90% of 200,000 people that we have in our workforce are all trained on design thinking. So they can frame the problem differently and solve those problems differently. We are training them on DevOps agility. Now there is around 75% of our entire projects are based on DevOps and agility. So there is a lot of churn happening within our own industry as well. And we are also recognizing the fact that if you have to create value, if you have to innovate, and if you have to respond to this disruption, the innovation is a team play, and therefore we need to be close to our customers. So you may have noticed that Infosys have announced recruiting 10,000 people within the US. We have already launched 5 centers, what we call is development center as well as the digital centers, where we are recruiting people. 4,000 people have already been recruited. Indianapolis setup, which was our training facility, was a few months ago launched by Vice President Pence. So we are really making all those kind of transformative changes within our own business to cater to the disruption which is happening around us. Sorry. Yeah. So if I just move forward and talk about that how we are really helping our customers, we are talking about a digital framework which on the power of artificial intelligence platform deliver 4 or 5 key outcomes. And those 4 or 5 key outcomes would be delivered on the basis of the technology that we use, the new way of thinking that we instill on our resources, and then try and work with customers to create the new wave of services and revenue streams. So we have created a framework, we call it the client digital journey, which has multiple aspects. I'm not going to go into details, but it has, if you can see, everything from the insight to experience to assure, accelerate, and reinvigorate, if you like, their legacy. The enterprises that we cater to have not been come out of anywhere yesterday. So they have multiple systems of their own. So we need to find the way to create microservices and APIs to leverage their existing systems so that they can vectorize those systems to deliver right kind of experiences. So if I just talk about the telecommunication industry, and my memory very vividly go back to a couple of years ago when Michelle came to Bangalore and we talked about the industry exchange nodes, and we said that this is exactly the right way that we should solve this problem. The telecommunication world has been transforming quite rapidly, as we all know in this room. But there are 5 or 6 key forces that we see, and I have summarized 5 here to consider. The key thing is that we need to find that CapEx to really plow back into redefining our business models. And how do we find that? So if I just very quickly define the 5 forces, the one is the users. So the users are really transforming. Their expectation is changing because of the Googles and the Amazons. And they're expecting telecommunications companies, in most of the cases, kind of come into origins hundreds of years ago, to perform in the form of an Amazon and Google. And what we recognize as a service provider and system integrator, that their systems are not really vectored in the fashion so that they can provide these kind of services to, or the experiences to users. So we've been helping a lot of telecommunications providers in omni-channel paradigm, wrapping around their legacy through microservices, APIs to launch new services. The second one is new services. Now, I think we had a fascinating Gartner session yesterday. Whilst the take-up of new services within the telecommunication world is rapidly growing, but if you look at the entire revenue economy of telecommunication world, which is around $2.5 trillion US dollars, only 8% of the overall revenue comes from these new services. So we feel that we need to really create those new services where the value can be created on the edges of the industry verticals. So how do we really take the whole telecommunication world, IoT, into the e-health, into the finance, into the automotive industry, so on and so forth. The third one is regulatory. I think City Fiber articulated it really very well. My adopted home country is Britain, UK, 5th economy, and the full fiber capability penetration is only 4%. Right? So there is a lot of pressure from the regulator, and as a matter of fact, yesterday, the Chancellor of Exchequer announced that the government is going to plow in £200 million to really roll out fiber to the rural areas. So regulatory is also putting a lot of pressure, and all these things require CapEx for transformation. And very briefly, I'll touch upon the new business models, essentially talking about that currently you have one subscription model, you pay the line rental, and you have one connection. And in the massive IoT and in an IoT paradigm, the whole business model will also transform. So you need to refactor all the systems, be it billing, be it CRM, be it your operating support systems, to really cater to those kind of experiences. And last but not the least is accessibility, where I think our relationship with Calix really plays a major part. When Michelle and Michael explained to me the vision of that how they are really disrupting the whole access layer in the network, I mean, it was a eureka moment for me that, yes, this is the right partner for us to work with. Because guess what? The most of the CapEx that you need to plow in this side can be easily removed from this side of inefficiencies, which means the network inefficiencies, and driving the network take up more towards the software defined. And that's where I think Calix is going to play a major part. And we've been very proudly involved with Calix for a number of years. So software-defined paradigm is very well understood by Calix, and the energy is just infectious. I mean, each time I talk to a Michael or a Michelle, it's just that we want to change this world. Why people do not get it, that we can really transform this whole thing. So my last topic is about why AXOS. I think you have heard from much more eloquent speakers than myself that what AXOS can deliver and do. But we've been very proudly involved with AXOS for around 2 years now. As Michelle said in his piece that There is a great deal of work is going in behind providing you what we have provided you so far on AXOS. And Infosys has been partnering with Michel and his team to really deliver those. So for an example, the subscriber management module has been created by Infosys, right? So all the AAA capabilities and the quality of services have been created by Infosys. And of course, the routing protocol module has been also created by Infosys. And we are working hand in glove very closely with Michel's team to really innovate on the edges. So on that, I'll stop now. This is a great event. Calix is the right partner for us to really innovate. We are really excited. It is a team play, and we are working very well with Michel and his team.
Thank you, Avi.
Thank you.
But one question for you.
Yeah.
You had the word next up there. So what's next?
So for me, Teresa, the next thing is, and Michel would probably agree with me, is that AXOS should become a one-stop platform for all access capabilities. So in my view, AXOS can actually provide the capabilities around copper, fiber, or maybe even wireless as a backhaul and fronthaul kind of a capability. So we see that there is a huge potential for AXOS, and it can further disrupt the whole industry.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I know our audience is very interested in 5G, so we look forward to hearing more about that.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now I have the pleasure of introducing our next speaker, Shirley Bloomfield from NTCA. Technical difficulty.
Today's world runs on connectivity. Keeping up with friends and family and building businesses that thrive all depend on the availability of internet and telecommunication services we can count on. That's why we're committed to expanding and sustaining robust broadband access in rural communities across the country. We are America's small broadband providers. We serve the most rural communities, and we're leading the charge to invest in technologies that will connect even more smart rural communities with resilient digital infrastructure. We help our neighbors sustain all the places that rural broadband providers are proud to call home. From Alaska to Maine, North Dakota to Texas, on Main Street, country roads, and all kinds of places in between. We're working for broadband. We're working for rural America.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Executive Officer, NTCA, the Rural Broadband Association, Shirley Bloomfield.
Thank you very much. Good morning. It's really a treat to be here with all of you today. And there is an adage that says, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I thought by showing that video, we actually took it up to a terabyte to share with you a little bit of the companies that I represent and why I think they're such a critical part of the ecosystem and the infrastructure as we talk about how we're going to continue this expansion of broadband across this country. I really appreciated Avi's remarks. I'm probably going to take this up to a little bit of a higher level, maybe to a cloud level, as we look at how this partnership ecosystem really is going to be critical as we look at some of the challenges before us when we talk about the fact that there's probably 24 million people in the United States alone who don't have connectivity. So I think there's ways, as we talk about partnerships, that we can really create win-win situations, not only for the providers, other utilities in the space, but certainly for the communities who are looking for service. My father was a big fan of Aesop fables, and so for nighttime stories, we couldn't do anything that didn't have a lesson connected to it. So I'm sure a lot of you remember the story about the ant who actually industriously worked all summer long to harvest food so that he wouldn't go hungry over the winter time, and the playful grasshopper who actually played most of the time and actually did suffer because of that. And the moral of the story was, make hay while the sun is shining. And one of the things I want to share with you all today is the sun is truly shining on rural broadband at this point in time. folks are really focused on what it's going to take to support and to expand building this critical infrastructure so we can bring all of these amazing services to people across the country. You've got folks who are economic development specialists, policymakers, community activists, all very focused right now at this point in time on how we accomplish this. Ronald Reagan once said the 9 most terrifying words were, "I'm from Washington, D.C., and I'm here to help." I would share with you that I actually am both, but I actually really sincerely mean that I think there's a lot that we can do right now as we continue to tell the story of all of the amazing things that so many of you in this room are already doing. I also want to share that this is a time where I really think we need to think bigger than ourselves. There's so many opportunities for this country to find ways to collaborate, to create different scope and scale, generate partnerships, and get creative about the ways that you're actually expanding some of your networks. How do we actually reach some of these unserved and underserved parts of our country and some of these consumers who are just so hungry for the technology that you have to bring? And not only that, I would also contend these folks are the best business opportunities that you might have. They're new business opportunities. It's new ways to generate some revenues. I also think it helps you, as we've been listening in this conference, ways to position you to be the facilitator of Internet of Things technology and to actually own the consumer experience. So that leads us to who's actually in this ecosystem. It's a pretty big toolbox. I think one of the things that we've all learned is it's going to take just about every kind of technology to get the job done. I get to go ahead because I actually represent ILECs. I'm going to go ahead and say that I see the ILEC industry as the foundation. These are carriers that had last resort obligations. They were traditional telephone companies, and they pivoted really quickly to become broadband providers, very fiber-rich, future-proof networks that they are out there building. I also would say Inditel and the state fiber networks that fall in under the ownership of some of these independent companies. You also start to look at cable providers. There's WISPs. There will always be a place in this country for a fixed wireless solution in some of these areas that are very difficult to serve. Municipalities that are hungry for some of the service for the consumers that live in their communities. And then you've got electric utilities and electric co-ops. There's a lot of folks in this space, and frankly, to get the job done, we're going to need everybody kind of working together and figuring out how to create some different synergies. I would also throw out there's a lot of organizations. There's groups like UTC, like NRECA, like Smart Cities. There's folks that are out there like the Fiber Broadband Association. And I would also say that there's folks like Calix, who I think have been terrific partners and working with us about what is going on in the industry, what are some of the pressure points. One of the things I've always appreciated about Carl is he reaches out periodically to say, what's happening? What are your folks thinking? What does CapEx really mean to them in a world where universal service constraints are actually getting pretty severe, but hopefully we will have some relief in short order on that one. So, like a tale of two cities, I think there's truly a tale of two rural Americas. And I would contend that there is truly a rural-rural divide, not so much a digital divide, but a rural-rural divide. And I think the sooner that we're honest about this, the sooner that we can actually figure out ways to bridge some of that. You've got a rural America on one hand, where you've got providers that are community-based. You know what? They live, they work in the community, their kids go to school, their parents are aging in place. They're very focused on medical care because that's what attracts top talent employees to come into those areas. And they know that the economic vitality of the communities they live in really depend on the technology that many of you in this room actually deliver. And that's why so many of them have embraced our Smart Rural Community Initiative, actually being designated as smart rural communities, showing that the broadband that you're deploying is actually used for amazing things. We also have about 60 of these smart rural communities across the country, and we have about 170 gig-certified communities as well. I would contrast that with the farmer on the other side who's waiting for his DSL connection in southern Illinois to actually connect so he can do his livestock sale. And we all know that all these things in real time make such a huge difference. So, we've got a world where you've got larger carriers, many of them who are under incredible competitive pressures in markets where, frankly, the rate of return and the rate of investment is extremely high. So the idea of putting some infrastructure and money into high-cost, low-density areas becomes kind of a failing proposition. So I think if we as a country are really truly committed to thinking about those 24 million unserved people, I think now is the time to step back and to say, what are those resources that we'll be needing? How do we come together and look at this? How do we do better mapping? How do we find more resources? How do we get more creative about some of those solutions? So that's one of the reasons why I am actually very bullish about partnerships. I think that ways to bridge this divide can really depend on folks coming together. So I kind of go back to one of the rules that we all had in kindergarten, which was learn to play well with one another. So I would share with you that I think this is the time to get out from behind the desk, start connecting with those in your community or in your state who might complement what some of your weaknesses or some of your challenges might be. Who can come to the table and actually create some interesting synergy with you? We actually created a web portal recently that was called Partners in Broadband. It was something that I have daughters in their 20s, so I am unfortunately way more familiar than I would like to be with online dating. But we consider this a little bit of a way to, you know what, if you're afraid to pick up the phone or you're feeling a little bit awkward, I'm always struck by the number of my companies that I will talk to, and I will say, do you know your counterpart? Do you know your counterpart in another utility? And how few people actually seem to bridge some of that. I really encourage you to again, get out of your office and think about who actually can be part of that partnership with you. So one of the things I thought would be really helpful is just taking a minute to share some stories, because frankly, I think stories sometimes actually help put some of this into context. I've got a couple of companies noted here. CTC up in Minnesota actually has been working with Calix Energy for the last year or so. Calix actually got some money from the state of Minnesota to do a fiber build in their service territory, and they reached out to CTC, who already had a collaboration agreement on way with an electric co-op to do a lot of the provisioning and telephone service and broadband operation. So the two have gotten together and have actually created a really interesting partnership. CTC sells on a wholesale basis access to Calix Energy, and people are actually getting broadband service for the first time. Up in Wisconsin, we have citizens who actually, through some marketing calls into an area they were looking to CLEC, accidentally got the general manager of the electric cooperative on the phone, and he said, if you're thinking about building broadband in this area, let's do it together. So they formed a CLEC. They are sharing their resources, they're sharing their staff, and they actually are also providing a video product and doing great things for people who had no service. And I'm going to put out Wabash Communications in Illinois as somebody who gets probably the most creative points, because they reached out to their local water utility and said, how much would you charge me to actually put some fiber in the ground? And the innovative CEO of the water utility said, you know what, I think we can do this together. They are now doing a dual investment, building fiber into unserved areas and providing broadband for the first time to thousands of people. So each of these partnerships that I've noted drives market momentum and best practices in broadband deployment. There's spirit of collaboration all across the country. New York, Georgia, Oregon, Tennessee, anywhere where people are starting to have some of these conversations. But I also think it's a time to be wise and to be thinking about using these limited resources very wisely. Overbuilding rural utilities in high-cost, low-density markets simply doesn't make sense when we have so much work to do as a country. I think one of the things that's kind of a myth in Washington, there's actually probably a number of myths in Washington, but one of them is that it doesn't take resources to get the job done when you don't have a customer base, or you have a customer base where the density might be 4 subscribers per mile, and in Washington, D.C., it's usually noted to be 400 or 500 people per square mile. So how do we do this in a way that, folks are either using universal service, or they're using their rights of way, or they're using pole attachments, or they're using their weight base, or they're using local bonds? I think all of those tools have to be put into place. So I truly know that I'm preaching to the choir. When I talk about what is the power of broadband, you know it, you live it, you breathe it, you're doing it yourself. We know that broadband is the #1 economic driver for the 21st century. We know that services like precision agriculture are just coming online, and they're going to be powerful. We know that as autonomous cars become even more frightening and prevalent, who owns that fiber is going to be controlling where that goes. Public safety. Things like aging in place in telemedicine, and certainly enabling our next generation to become world leaders and to learn from their home. I also think, honestly, that this clears the path for you to own the consumer experience. So one of the things I want to do today is I want to leave you with a challenge. I'd like to challenge each of you to be thinking about whose strengths, whose facilities, whose consumers actually complete you. Who can be the yin to your yang? And I'd love to see you set up discussions and see where you can take it, because quite honestly, the future depends on all of you. Thank you for all you do.
So Shirley, I loved hearing all the stories about the different partnerships. Can you tell me, what is some of the commonalities you see with the successful ones?
So Teresa, a couple of the things that we find when people actually get together and a collaboration works, the first thing I would say is check the egos at the door. It's not about who's going to win. It's about coming in and finding something that you share a common goal on. And that common goal, hopefully, is to serve folks either in the community that you live in or the community nearby or a community that has a need. The other thing that I would say is, be clear, be transparent. Be very clear about what each party needs to get out of that partnership. What are they looking for, and how do you make that work, and how do you do that up front? And who's going to own the customer? Who's going to do the billing? Get all of that taken care of and out of the way. And the other thing that I would say is, I'm a big fan, again, Aesop fable. If you don't first succeed, try and try again. So I think these things take time, and I would say be patient, but be persistent.
That seems like great advice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to invite up to the stage Matt Polka from the American Cable Association.
In 1999, the Small Cable Business Association changed its name to the simpler American Cable Association, reflecting the values of its members to connect hometown America as the dawn of the internet age was upon our country, and the importance of that connection took on even greater significance. In 1997, the association hired Matt Polka, a cable lawyer and small cable general counsel who lobbied in D.C. with us since 1993 to run the association.
Awareness, involvement, commitment, building relationships, telling our story, never backing down, never giving up, doing the right things for our members. These are the principles of our association from our earliest times. And 25 years later, these are the principles we emphasize as if every day was our first day to make our members' voices heard in Washington, D.C.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President and CEO, American Cable Association, Matthew Polka.
Good morning, everybody. I want to thank Calix for showing a portion of our 25th anniversary. Yes, ACA is 25 years old today. I've been with the organization for 21 years, and that's why I wanted to show you some of my baby pictures. A lot has happened in 25 years, but thank you so much for the opportunity here to be here at Calix, to spend some time listening and learning yesterday. I learned so much. I have never been here before, but I had such a great day yesterday. It was so wonderful to walk the floor, to talk with you, to spend time together, and to really listen and learn. And one thing I learned yesterday, walking around, is that our broadband future is secure, and it's in your hands, and I thank you for that. Thank you for that very much. Now, my job here today is not to be technical, because I'm probably the least technical guy in the room. But my job here today is to tell you a little bit more about the American Cable Association, what we do, why we do it, and how we can better partner together as cable wired broadband providers, all trying to seek to deliver that broadband future. The fact of the matter is that we all face challenges, and many of the challenges that our members face at ACA are the same. We have about 750 members, and I'll show you a graph in a little bit, that make up cable, telco, municipal members, but we're all striving to do what you want us to do, what our customers want us to do to deliver that broadband experience. But we deal with many of the same challenges that make it hard for us to serve hard-to-reach communities. And let me tell you a little bit about some of those challenges. The first thing that we, as internet service providers, even though cable's in our name, we are broadband providers, make no mistake. The first thing that our members are doing each and every day is trying to deliver the bandwidth needs of today, making sure that our customers have the bandwidth that they need. And let me show you something to illustrate how we are being successful in that regard. This is a chart from Netflix showing their ISP service, their ISP reliability. And what's very interesting about this chart is that 4 of the 5 top operators in terms of Netflix download speed are smaller operators and members of the American Cable Association. This is an amazing fact. Now, it's really interesting when you go to that graph on the Netflix chart. You see how it says up there, hide small operators? It's almost like it's a secret that they don't want people to know that smaller operators are delivering better service to consumers than larger operators. That's us. That's what we're doing each and every day. So we have to meet that bandwidth requirement of today. The second challenge is ensuring in Washington, D.C. that there remains a light touch of regulation on smaller internet service providers. It is so important and it's so critical because what we want to do as a result of that light touch and what we are doing because of that light touch is this. We are delivering broadband in our hard-to-reach communities and we're making it happen. This is an example of one of our member companies, Armstrong Utilities, and how they are deploying broadband in our markets and in my market back home in Western Pennsylvania. I want to see more of this, but it needs a light touch of regulation where Washington understands that you're different and that because of that light touch of regulation, you can invest and deploy more. The third thing that we have to do, and the third challenge we face, is not just the light touch and meeting the bandwidth needs of today, but meeting the bandwidth needs of tomorrow. That's not easy because there are so many choices that are out there for you to determine and for you to decide. Last week, I was in Atlanta at the SCTE show. Some of you were there as well. Here's a picture of the show floor. It's an amazing opportunity that members had, just as we had on the show floor here today, to show what you're doing and to find the ways to solve the broadband problems. You're finding those solutions, but you've got to dig and you've got to meet that bandwidth need for tomorrow. Last but not least, in terms of a challenge, it's something that we all face as broadband providers, particularly if we're providing video, is dealing with that legacy video problem of the cable bundle, retransmission consent, sports programming, cable bundled programming, etc. Well, let me show you something from one of our customers. This is a company called MCTV based in Massillon, Ohio. There are 40,000 subscribers. This is a company that is moving to broadband fiber directly to the home. They're not worried about finding ways to get there. They're going directly there. This is what they say. Internet subscribers are going up. Internet-only customers are going up. TV video subscribers are going down. They do not see a long-term business in video. In fact, as this graph over here behind me says, of every new subscriber, of 10 new subscribers that they bring on at MCTV, only 2 will take video, compared to how many subscribers that they're losing. This is a broadband world. We have to fight video issues, but we have to also remember that we have to keep our eye on the prize, and that's broadband. How do we leverage technology? How do we make sure that Washington understands what it is that we're doing and why it's important for Washington to recognize who we are as smaller operators? I'll say that I don't think we get the credit as ISPs, where Washington in the past has tried to regulate us rather than help to encourage us. So we have to show them that we're committed to our marketplaces, and we have to deploy, deploy, deploy. and we have to invest and deploy. That's what's happened over the last year. We've seen, even Chairman Pai from the FCC said recently, over the last year, since his Restoring Internet Freedom Order was implemented in December of 2017, the investment has been remarkable in broadband deployment. We have to continue to do that. We have to reach the hardest to reach areas of our country, and we have to demonstrate that commitment, finding ways to finance these places, whether it's through state, federal programs, whether it's through private capital. We have to find unserved areas, and we have to extend our plan into them as we manage this regulatory environment and show why Washington should care. And last but not least, we can't assume that there's just one path to solve the problem. Whether it's wired, whether it's wireless, whether it's 5G, whether it's extensions, we have to solve the problem. Our customers want service. Washington, for once, is actually talking about delivering broadband in rural America, and we have to deliver on that promise. The big companies aren't coming to our markets. We're doing it. So we have to be the ones to go out, and we have to deploy in whatever form it takes, and we have to be willing to do that. I get asked quite a lot, how do cable companies, telephone companies, other providers, how do you mix? Do you collaborate? Do you get together? Are there opportunities? Are you always sort of at odds with each other? And the answer is, we do work together. We do collaborate. We spend time each and every day. In fact, in our association, as you can see from this chart, in many cases, and in our marketplaces, the quote-unquote cable company is the telephone company, because this is a big country, and the places we serve are hard to reach. And sometimes it takes a telephone company or a municipal or a cable company to be able to provide the needed services. How else do we collaborate? I was so pleased to spend some time here on stage with Shirley Bloomfield from NTCA, because we're friends. We work together, and in fact, recently our organization and a number of others recently sent a letter to the Hill, all of these organizations, seeking to limit the amount and the impact of regulation on your business. Third, our members come together to serve their communities in ways that are unique, where they are building statewide networks. This one in Iowa. They're coming together. They're collapsing head ends. They're taking the time to understand what they have to do together to meet the needs of their communities. And last but not least, we take our message to Washington. This is our commitment, where we go to Washington to talk about video issues, to talk about broadband issues, to talk about serving rural America. We also work very collaboratively with our partners in the vendor community. We do so much at our association, where we work together with our vendor companies as they are working with you to help you, to train you better, to help increase your knowledge, to work with us at the American Cable Association by participating on webinars and coming to our events and speaking and things of that nature, where you can learn more from your partners, because as I said, there is no one solution. Every situation is unique. And we spend time to come together, and we spend time to connect. That's what is so important to us as we think about our organization, about our industry, working together collaboratively. There's a reason I have this hashtag up here. This hashtag is going to be our message to Washington when our members and our vendor partners come to Washington in March to continue to tell our story and to continue to tell Washington, you need to be focused on who we are, because we're going to solve your problem in rural America. We connect. Our members come together to connect with Washington, with their customers, with their businesses, with their communities, with Washington, D.C. We are the answer. We're the solution. I invite all of you to come join us. Help us to increase the size of that voice, because we have to be committed to make Washington listen. And I can tell you that the American Cable Association is committed to you and your future. Thank you so much for allowing me to be with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. So you mentioned the We Connect conference. Obviously, that's one way your members are involved in the partnership. Can maybe you describe a few more other ways? You know, it is so interesting to me and really gratifying
as I have the opportunity to go out and to speak to our members all across the country. And when I'm there, oftentimes I see partners from the vendor community that are working right there hand in hand with our members. And what's interesting is they are finding solutions. Our members, in many ways, find solutions that the larger companies can't, because we don't have the depth, we don't have the resources, we don't have the staff. We have to figure those situations out and find those solutions. And then when we do together, we share them. We share those with others. I mentioned MCTV before. They were one of the companies that really helped to develop technology for their company, which they then, with the vendors, with partners, help to share with others. So I love that aspect about our business, where we can take time, we can learn, we can come together, and then we can share for all.
Excellent. Sounds like it's definitely strength in numbers.
It sure is.
Excellent.
It sure is.
Thank you so
Thanks
much,
so much,
Matt.
My pleasure. Thanks, everybody.
So, to finish off this section on partnerships and ecosystems, I'd like to highlight one of our gold sponsors, Momentum Telecom. So they've recently finished integrating the virtual network function DPX, and they'll be talking a little bit more about that in a breakout this afternoon at 1 p.m. And last but not least, I'd like to take this opportunity to announce our Partnership of the Year Awards. So we have two partners here, one of which is Infosys, our AXOS Co-Creation Partner of the Year. And so you just heard from Infosys on stage a few minutes ago. And then we have our BSS OSS Integration Partner of the Year, GLDS. GLDS recently completed integration of GFast AXOS solutions, as well as the E92 AXOS solution, and they're completing right now the E72 AXOS solution into their back office systems. Please take some time to visit all of our partners in the back showcase, as well as join them in the breakouts this afternoon. Thank you.
Much. So I want to thank all of our guests. It's amazing how many people are coming together to advocate for all of you to bring the capabilities that you need so that you can actually meet the needs of your subscribers. I love the chart that Matt showed that showed all the different organizations coming together to advocate on behalf of the service provider. But the thing that was most fascinating was the chart that showed the changing dynamics of all of the services that one of their members was actually delivering. And success requires everyone to be able to develop and deploy and move ahead of demand to meet the needs of your subscribers. And I thought that was fascinating, and it's wonderful that we have ecosystem partners coming together to help us do that, because it's the subscriber that really matters. And so one of the things I wanted to do is shift into our next session and invite back our friends, the Millers, to share with you how we want to arm you to build an incredible relationship with your subscribers. Cue the video, please.
I had an idea that making our home a smart home would be cool, but then I got to talk to my service provider about it, and Daniel, okay.
Oh, hey, Susan.
Hey, so I just downloaded the smart home app, and I have so many options.
Oh, yeah.
I can add services as I go. Security and parental controls, and oh, they have these bundles too.
Oh, yeah, like
the family bundle, yeah, with the home automation. Let's run a speed test. Wait, we're on the lowest speed package. Oh, but I can change that right now. And done. Check it out. Oh my gosh. Oh. And guess what else? There's even an option to choose from a variety of the most popular smart home features, or the ones that come directly from my service provider, which is you. I have like the smartest home ever. Hey, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate everything you do.
Glad I could help.
Yeah.
Have a good one, okay?
You too. Yeah. Might call you later. Actually, I know I'm gonna call you later. Yeah.
Daniel and I are buds. He's the best.
Daniel is a service provider.
Yeah.
I forgot that. No, I remember now.
He's great.
Yeah.
Our mission at Calix is to connect everyone and everything. Innovative communication service providers around the world rely upon Calix to help them manage and monetize the complexity in the access infrastructure. As such, we anticipated the coming disruption driven by the device-enabled subscriber connecting to content and applications in the cloud. And our portfolio of solutions is designed to help competitive service providers around the world meet emerging threats from web-scale players. As such, our current customer list includes CSPs of virtually every size and type. Our prospects universe includes any entity providing communication services to a subscriber. This universe includes local and competitive exchange carriers, cable operators, wireless ISPs, and overbuilders. We help our customers reinvent how they serve their device-enabled subscribers. Our platforms help our customers capitalize on opportunities generated by the Internet of Things, augmented and virtual reality applications, and even autonomous technologies. Customers who are embracing our strategic platforms recognize that the winning CSPs of the future will provide a sensational subscriber experience via an infrastructure that is always on and can be enhanced at a DevOps pace and is intelligent enough to run itself. Finally, we strive to put our customers and their brands first to ensure that they will always have a central place in their subscribers' lives. Our solution strategy is intended to help our customers build and reinforce their brand presence within their subscribers' premises. Calix is positioned as the essential provider of platforms and services that enable and catalyze this transformation. The principal elements of our portfolio are Calix Cloud, an analytics platform that leverages network data and subscriber behavioral data to deliver analytics and intelligence to communications professionals via role-specific dashboards. EXOS, which is a carrier-class premises operating system that supports residential, business, and mobile subscribers. EXOS, coupled with our market-leading gigafamily premises systems, provides a unique foundation for mastering and monetizing the complexity of the smart home and business. And finally, AXOS, an operating system for access networks that allows a service provider to deliver all services on a single, elastic, converged access network that is always on. Each of these elements are supported by our portfolio of Calix services that help CSPs define their transformation strategy, build new skills, implement new technologies, and deploy new subscriber services. One of the best examples of AXOS enabling transformation can be seen in our relationship with Verizon. One of the world's leading and most innovative carriers, Verizon recently announced that it has begun the industry's first large-scale deployments of AXOS and NG-PON2 technology in Tampa, Florida, and expanding into other markets soon. And with 200,000 Infosys engineers joining the Calix team, our customers will see a dramatic acceleration of innovation. You can be certain to stay steps ahead of the coming disruption and build the winning service provider of the future right now.
We're the Millers, and we're your subscribers. I'm Susan.
Hey, I'm Anthony.
Hi, I'm Lily.
What? Oh, hi, I'm Will.
And we are so happy that you're here. Okay, it's time to set up my new smart home. Alexa, please connect me to my smart home system.
Welcome to your smart home system. Configuring your system now. Please provide your email.
SueMiller@gmail.com.
Please provide your password.
I love kittens.
Your smart home system password is set. Would you like to set up parental controls?
Definitely yes. But can I set it up later?
You can set up parental controls at any time. You can also use your system to monitor network security. Would you like to set up your device security monitoring to protect your devices?
Yes, absolutely yes.
Security is set up. All of your devices are now protected with smart home network security.
Could you scan the devices in this house?
Scanning. No security breaches detected. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, that's it.
Your smart home system is now set up. Goodbye.
Wow, ever since I got this smart home system, things have been really easy. Hey, Alexa, remember that I'm super cool.
Remembering you are super cool.
In the beginning, having smart stuff was fun. Alexa, play my disco hits playlist.
Playing disco hit list.
But the more devices we let in, the more devices we needed to control them all. Then I got an alert. One system. To manage all the devices, one system. Sign me up. Thanks to my service provider, now that I have their smart home system, all those issues are gone. Even better, if I have a question, they're so happy to help. Sometimes you just have to clean house. Right, honey? Mm-hmm. Let it happen. An idea that making our home a smart home would be cool. But then I got to talk to my service provider about it and... Daniel. Okay.
Oh, hey, Susan.
Hey. So I just downloaded the smart home app and I have so many options.
Oh, yeah.
I can add services as I go. Security and parental controls and oh! They have these bundles too.
Oh, yeah, like
the family bundle, yeah, with the home automation. Let's run a speed test. Wait, we're on the lowest speed package. Oh, but I can change that right now. And done. Check it out. Oh my gosh. Oh. And guess what else? There's even an option to choose from a variety of the most popular smart home features, or the ones that come directly from my service provider, which is you. I have like the smartest home ever. Hey, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate everything you do.
Glad I could help.
Yeah.
Have a good one, okay?
You too. Yeah. Might call you later. Actually, I know I'm gonna call you later. Yeah, Daniel and I are buds. He's the best. Yeah.
Daniel is a service provider.
Yeah.
I forgot that. No, I remember now.
He's great.
Yeah.
It might be hard to tell now, but we weren't always being, well, smart with our smart home. Toss me the keys. So I installed new keypads and downloaded the first keyless app I could find. But our home system wasn't IoT ready, so we had connection issues and still got locked out.
We are in.
Really?
Doesn't the Joneses service provider offer a new smart home system that is always on? They can add new applications and devices with no interruption. You know, things like locks.
Wait, are you telling me you two were in here this whole time? It's fine. It's fine. Now, our new smart home system ensures that all our smart home devices are always working. It's made all the difference. I mean, what's the point of having a smart home that isn't smart? We are so much better now. Except for the broken window, of course.
Did get us in the house. So.
Allo's, since our start, has all been about two things: change and growth, because this is an industry of change. We started off as a voice carrier, then we added internet, then we added residential and TV, and so it's just moved all along. And during that is growth. We're in 9 communities, ranging in size from 1,400 to 280,000. We did a merger with Nelnet, and it really changed our company. And they really wanted to change Lincoln. And so they made a huge investment. It's hundreds of millions of dollars. And we've done over 8 million linear feet of conduit and boring in Lincoln. And we went from 100 employees at the time of the merger in January of 2016 to today we have over 500 employees. Last year when I was at the Calix conference, Wi-Fi was the talk of the industry. If you really think about it, the home got ahead of the industry, in my opinion. What happened was we didn't have great Wi-Fi that would propagate through a home, and the consumers needed it. Well, the 804 came along, the mesh product, people were clamoring to get it. Now all of a sudden it's starting to die down. Node steering, band steering, you know, all the developments that have occurred on the 844 and how everything's provided from Calix has really changed how we operate.
Everyone expects your Wi-Fi to connect, you know, as you move around your house, every device you pick up, every person in your house. And so Allo has done a lot of educating over the last couple of years, our customers, on the capabilities of wireless. What we really try and do is just make it really easy for people. And so with the band and node steering and the Calix Giga Center, what we talk to a lot of our customers about is, you know, connecting over 100 devices really sets us apart from our competitors.
I think we've got over 35,000 Giga Centers operating right now. And we're growing at probably 500 to 600 Giga Centers a week right now. I saw a demo of Support Cloud, and I came back and I told our staff, I said, we're going with this, we're going all in, and we're going to optimize this, and it's going to change our company. My favorite thing is when we proactively contact a customer, and the customer says, wow, I didn't even realize we had a problem, and we're out there solving it. Because we have 4 values in our company, and one of them is to be exceptional, and another one is to be hassle-free. And you're neither exceptional or hassle-free if you're offering substandard service.
Support Cloud really gave us that red, yellow, green. So when an agent pulls up a customer, they can quickly say, hey, I need to focus here. We clearly have a problem. And that was really what we were looking for. How can we improve close ratios and information in that Tier 1 team? So close ratios, since we've launched Calix Support Cloud, have gone up by about 15%. So we went from about a 35% close ratio in our Tier 1 team to these last 3 weeks we actually have been above 50%. First call resolution is up. Like I said, 50% of customers are resolved at that Tier 1 level. And so they're not having to wait to get to our Tier 2 group. And when they do get to the Tier 2 group, Tier 1 has already done a whole lot of troubleshooting initially. You know, a lot of tools it takes, you can do training, but really until the agents have the tool and are using the tool, it takes about 6 weeks to kind of come up to speed. And they didn't need 6 weeks. It cut down much more. So we started seeing improvements within 2-3 weeks. We know, just based on the statistics we gather, that 30% of our customers calling in week over week are new customers, those that have had service 45 days or less. And pushing out self-heal has really helped us in that customers aren't calling with, why does this device not work? Why am I seeing slowness after the technician was out here? Having the ability to have a tool that just fixes issues before the customer even sees the issue has been huge. And that's really where we're trying to push to that kind of next level. See, our Net Promoter Score prior to deploying Calix Support Cloud, we would range from 30 to 35 points. Since doing that, we've seen an uptick, 40, 50. A few months ago, we actually had a 60-point score, which really is starting to push technical support into that best of breed, which is really where everyone wants to be. But let's be honest, technical support, no one's happy when they call in. So we really shoot for 60 points is what we're aiming for.
Our goal is to make Lincoln one of the most connected communities in the United States. We have a research university, we have a city that's very interested, and a sponsor with Nelnet and Allo to develop fiber. Wow. 2019 and on is going to be wonderful.
Gibson Electric is an electric cooperative serving Northwest Tennessee and West Kentucky. We were founded in 1936, and we serve 21 incorporated communities and parts of 12 counties in that service territory, about 2,600 square miles. So we have 39,000 electric meters. So we started building fiber in 2005 to interconnect substations, our customer service centers, really the smart grid type of thought for the electric industry. So in 2017, the state of Tennessee passed the Tennessee Rural Broadband Act, and that allowed us to be in the retail business. Before that, it was the customers, it was our members telling us that they needed broadband. We did some surveys. We had 92% of our members asking us to provide broadband services.
We want to be able to compete from an economic development standpoint in these areas where we live. We want to keep our people local. We want to keep our businesses here. And if we can provide them a high-speed data service that they can't get from in more metropolitan areas, in the rural area, they're more likely to stay here.
An example would be Parham Heating and Cooling. They're located here in our service territory. They've connected to our network. They've just been ecstatic with the service that we provided.
We got tired of being down off the internet, got tired of trying to conduct business on a small phone or tablet, so we swapped to Gibson Connect. It has been great. There's probably 6 or 7 of us that all have computers. It is no delay. It's click, 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 click. Our Wi-Fi is fabulous. I actually can listen to stream Pandora if I needed to, where before it would probably buffer for 40 minutes and time out and you would never hear a song.
Phase 1, which will be about a 600-mile build, includes all of Lake County, Tennessee. It's the very far northwestern county in Tennessee. Every resident of Lake County will have access to gigabit speeds.
We have decided to use a participation model to allow our members to decide where we begin our construction process. And we do that through a site called join.gibsonconnect.com. Engineering has decided what each zone's threshold is, the number that has to be met in order for the zone to be approved to begin construction.
So we have over 7,000 members in well less than a year have already signed up. And when I say sign up, they've been willing to put some skin in the game, pay us some money in order to register for Gibson Connect broadband.
The first call on the residential side was to Calix because we understood that they were a market leader in that GPON space, which is the space that we wanted to provide service to our customers. We realized that they had the best technologies going forward. They provide the best services going forward. And some of the new things they're doing with our AXOS platform has helped us get to where we want to be as far as our business plan. The AXOS platform will allow us to provide different services across multiple areas. We can provide voice, data, or video services. The telemetry coming back will help us make decisions regarding where network growth is needed, where our electric plant is, when outages happen, where they're happening, how do we restore them fast. Having a platform that can do both E7 GPON and E7 10 GPON or NGPON 2 services on the same platform is beneficial to us because at that point we get into some of these service territories where we have very dense customer base. We may need to do 10 GPON in order to provide the data services at the business level that the customer is expecting. The AXOS platform is going to allow us to it has always on capability, which is going to allow us to do real-time upgrades without causing service disruption to our customers. The always-on capability of the AXOS platform will allow us to pull real-time data from our devices in the field. In an AMI system, it's very important for us to have reliable communications to our metering, not only for billing purposes, but also for network engineering and power engineering. The telemetry coming from the Calix AXOS system will allow us to be able to make faster decisions about what is actually out there in the field. We'll be getting real-time data streams, so if we have a GPON customer that disconnects, we can also coincide that with an electric outage and know that maybe there's a pole broken, or maybe there's a service disruption that's due to one's causing the other, or maybe there's a pole fell down because of a windstorm or something. I believe the AXOS platform is going to allow us to have a quicker market time getting some of the new services out there, voice, video, and data.
You know, when we look at where we want to be 5 years, 10 years down the road, the AXOS platform is a great basis. It's a great jumping off place for us as we build a 10, 15, 20-year network for serving customers.
Housing Development Corporation Limited. We are a 100% state-owned enterprise established in 2001 with the mandate to develop Hulumale, the most ambitious land reclamation project in the Republic of Maldives. We act as the master developer, builder, and regulator for the city of Hulumale. Being the master planner, we oversee, we manage, and control the land use plan, design, and construction guidelines for all the developments within the city. As part of our regulatory function, we undertake administrative and municipality services, including civic engagement, playing a key role in property investment and investment promotion. Following a national vision, Hulumale is the product of a transformative idea that took shape among the waves. HDC facilitates Hulumale to become the first sustainable city in the country. Located 8 kilometers off the northeast coast of Male, the capital of Maldives, and 6.5 kilometers from Melana International Airport, lies Hulumale, currently a home to over 40,000 people. The initial reclamation of Hulumale Phase 1, consisting of 188 hectares, was completed in mid-2002. With a broader vision, in early 2015, an additional 244 hectares was reclaimed in just 77 days, with a target to accommodate 2/3 of the entire population of the Maldives. Our business lines have since grown from commercial and residential developments to incorporating projects concentrating on sectors such as tourism, IT and communications, finance and banking, as well as industrial and educational. An opportunity which emerged among the waves, Hulumale is planned intelligently with a design incorporating a mix of urban and island life for its residents and visitors. We are proud to present Hulumale, the City of Hope.
ConneXions serves about 9,300 square miles, northwest, north central Kansas, if you kind of think of our core business. ConneXions really began as a rural telecommunications company, as a rural telephone service company. And like a lot of our peer companies, we began to diversify into competitive services. In the early days, we were an OSI customer, which then we transitioned to being an Occam customer, and that transitioned to being a Calix customer. We've continued to always try and find what is the best equipment for our customers. The ideal piece for us is making sure that what we put in the field to take care of our customers is solid. The customer equates a good Wi-Fi connection to a good broadband connection. As we continue to try and find the best ways for our customers to be served, we've always wanted to find what is the best router, because that's that first piece that for a broadband customer that they use to interface with our network. In most cases, the Giga Center that we use with Calix can take care of all the needs for our customers. There are occasions where, due to house construction, the materials used, or the size of the home, we will put in APs, or in this case, the mesh is what we're using now. And so that allows for a greater customer experience across the entire home. And if they want to have connectivity in their backyard, we can make sure that happens too.
We're doing phenomenally well. So we started in July of 2016, so just a little over 2 years, and we have about 8,000 customers which is almost a third of our total internet customers.
If you look at the devices connected to my router, it gets to be a little overwhelming. The daughter is always on her school laptop, her iPad, her phone. My 10-year-old is constantly on his Xbox or his iPad. And then the 8-year-old, you never really know what he's doing, probably something on YouTube from a computer or laptop or tablet. Once we put the premium Wi-Fi product in, I don't have the complaints from my wife and my kids about Xbox. From a new capability standpoint, earlier I'd kind of talked about different devices in the house, Amazon Fire Sticks in every corner of the home connected to TVs. So it's kind of enabled that streaming functionality no matter where we're at in the home. It may not have been as good a service or may not have been able to get the HD quality streams from those streaming services.
A customer who had called in back in April was actually wanting to get connectivity to their back deck for Wi-Fi service. We have a help desk system where we log all those notes. So the customer actually called in this morning and actually wanted the new TV Now service, and which they took. Behind the scenes, we were able to connect that trouble ticket when they called in before and them wanting the new over-the-top service. So we actually had the CSR call them back. It was a cool experience because they were able to upsell for the $6 charge and get the premium Wi-Fi service into the customer's house.
We really liked the way that Calix marketed the materials because things like welcome to the backyard and imagery of children in a tent with a flashlight on their tablets, or somebody on their back patio drinking coffee and you know they're fully connected. I think that that's what matters. It's not selling Wi-Fi service, it's selling life experience to people and convenience and being able to go out into your shed if you want and do some work and watch the football game, or go down in your basement and have a football party and know that all of the tablets are going to update the scores. That's what's really going to sell the premium Wi-Fi service, and that's what I feel like the marketing materials delivered. The materials that Calix has out there are exceptional. We don't generally see that kind of marketing support and just such a robust amount of materials available to us. And also we were able to take them, and with the talent that I have on my team, we were able to customize them with the name that we wanted. We were able to put our logo on them, and in a short amount of time, they were ready to go to our website to promote the premium Wi-Fi. Another great part about working with Calix is I actually got to have a marketing consult, and they reached out to us because they liked what we had done with the materials, how we utilized them in our website and brought them to print, and then they actually talked to me about ideas of maybe future things that we might like to have, and we visited about maybe videos that our customers would like to see, and they showed me some things that they're working on that I'm really excited about, and I know we're also going to incorporate. So it was a very collaborative process.
The next gadgets that we'll probably have in our home, it would probably be in line with smart home and home automation, some of those things that we don't have yet that you're seeing more mainstream, being able to walk in and trigger lights to go on and off in your home.
In the next 5 years, we anticipate that there will be continued adoption of Internet of Things, of the smart home, of smart office. And quite frankly, the way for that to work and the way for that to be the experience that the customer wants is having a great Wi-Fi connection and a great broadband connection in their home.
Hi, I'm John Franklin. I'm the Operations Director for CityFibre. So here at CityFibre, we're the largest competitor to BT Openreach. We build and provide fibre across cities, across 50 towns and cities in the UK, providing fibre access to all layers that require fibre now and in the future over the next 50 to 100 years. So that covers PSN, mobile, businesses, consumer ISP, anything that requires fibre will be provided through the CityFibre network. Most recently, we've signed a strategic deal with Vodafone to roll out 1 million homes of FTTH across our existing footprint in the UK. We're going to do that by 2021, and we've started in 3 cities already, and more cities are coming on construction starting each quarter as we progress. That deal can extend to 5 million, and we'll continue to build out across that existing footprint to avail fibre across all of those footprints to consumer ISPs.
Since we announced the project with Vodafone a little under a year ago, we've had great progress. We've announced the first 7 cities where we're building in. Of those, 3 of them already have people on the ground building fibre to the home. The project is gathering momentum. We'll connect our first customers this year, and next year it's just going to be going faster and faster. Today we're announcing a strategic partnership with Calix. CityFibre will be deploying the E92 platform across our network. That means we'll have a platform where we can introduce multi-gigabit services and GPON2 and be future-proofed. The introduction of the new Calix platform means CityFibre can drive the introduction of new 10 gigabit services and soon 100 gigabit services into the network. It reduces our complexity, means we can introduce new software platforms easily and more rapidly, and it's the country's first fully software-defined access network. For our carrier, mobile and ISP customers, the introduction of this new platform means they'll have access to a completely programmable network. For a long time we've spoken about software-based bandwidth upgrades. This goes well beyond that. They'll have deep control of each part of the network once we roll these features out. It'll be as if they own the network themselves while all the complexity is left to us. For a long time, we've been talking about the introduction of 5G, Internet of Things, and smart cities. This platform enables all of that. It means you have an open platform that's flexible to support all of these new applications, even things we haven't thought of yet.
Our FTTH project gives us the perfect opportunity to build world-class network from the ground up. New ducts, new cables, new POPs and co-location facilities. And to do that, we need perfect partners to enable us to drive that world-class infrastructure. The partnership with Calix is an example of that. Without any legacy network, we can put new groundbreaking functionality in with the Calix network to sit over the top of our new fibre network.
CityFibre has always been a disruptor in the UK market. We see Calix very much as a disruptor in the access market. We're aligned in our mindset. As a result, we both see a vision of a software-defined network future, and this partnership allows that to be crystallized in the UK.
Okay, let me try that again. Hello, everyone. Oh, come on, you can do better than that. You're almost ready to go home or make some money, do some other things. Hello, everyone. Hello. Okay, I'm going to talk today about the right stuff is the never give up stuff, because I've had a lot of things happen, adversity over my life that I had to work through. And I think about as we, as a civilization, continue to inspire and motivate and not give up to do great things, that's what I want to talk to you about today. And so I remember on my first, I guess really it was before I was born. It was like in May of 1961. John F. Kennedy was petitioning Congress to send a human to the moon and back safely in the next decade. And that was one of the most technologically challenging things that we're going to do as a nation. And at the same time, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was flying to the deep south to help console the freedom riders that were getting bombed. That was a time in our history when we're doing these two very divergent things, but we had to do them for the sanctity of our nation. And when I think about September of '61, I call this my pre-me pictures. This is my mom and dad, Deems and Grace Melvin. They were thinking about starting a family. So I wasn't in there yet, but it was pre-me, a pre-me picture. And how is this kid going to be raised? Where are they going to go to school? What is he going to do with his life? How are we going to inspire him to be the next generation of explorers or whatever he wants to be? And so that was September of '61. I was born in '64, and there was this guy named Gene Roddenberry who put together this show that was kind of cool, and you had this woman named Lieutenant Uhura who was the first African-American woman on television that wasn't in a subservient role. She was the chief communications officer in the Starship Enterprise. And it was also the first time that Captain Kirk, you had the first intergalactic kiss when he kissed the green woman, right? So in the mid-'60s, you had all of these firsts, these things going on. I had a friend, Ronald McNair, who saw Nichelle Nichols on television in the '60s and said, if they got women like that in space, I want to be an astronaut. And so he applied, he got in, he flew in space. And then I think about this picture in '68. I was 4 years old. This picture is called Earthrise. It was taken by Bill Anders on Apollo 8 going around the moon. And this picture fueled the environmental movement. It fueled the EPA. This one picture let us see our planet in its blue majesty, its brilliance. It galvanized us. It made us actually stop spraying hairspray when we realized that the hairspray, the fluorohydrocarbons, were causing a hole in the ozone layer. We took that data and we passed a law to stop using those fluorohydrocarbons to close our ozone hole. So this was a 4-year-old picture for me. And then when I was 5, Neil and Buzz walked on the moon. One small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. I was 5 years old, but I was holding the antenna on the television, trying to look around the side. Don't move, Leland. I'm like trying to hold it so they can see the picture. But everyone asked me after this picture, do you want to be an astronaut? And I said no, because I don't see someone who looks like me. And my dad talked about Arthur Ashe, who was a tennis player who trained 5 blocks down the street from where I grew up in Lynchburg, Virginia. So I wanted to be a tennis player, Arthur Ashe. My mother, and also we need to make sure we use the right language. I changed this. Neil will be okay with me changing this from the mankind to humankind, because we want to make sure that everyone is able to be part of this journey. And so when I was, that's Arthur Ashe and the people that worked and lived down the street from me that inspired me to play tennis. And I think about growing up, my mom, she decided to read to me every night, The Little Engine That Could. And this little engine, it never gave up. Just like sometimes what you do in this tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 level of not giving up to make sure that your customers have what they need, to make sure that they have the services that give them the aspirations and inspiration to inspire their kids with this new library called the internet, this technology. And so The Little Engine That Could gave me that. The Curious George, getting in trouble, flying in space, doing all these things. I wanted to be like Curious George. So these books were foundational for me, not giving up, believing in myself, and staying curious. And then when my mother decided to give me this moment with this bread truck, my dad drove this Merita bread truck home, and he said, Leland, this is our camper. I said, no, it's not. I can read, it says Merita bread and rolls on the side of that. And I thought we were going into the bread business. I thought I'm going to be, delivering the bread, my dad's driving, But he said, no, I have a vision for us. This is our camper. And over that summer, we wired the truck. We built bunk beds. We plumbed a Coleman stove. We plumbed a propane tank into a Coleman stove. We were building this vehicle, and it wasn't until my father painted the van that I saw it as a recreational vehicle. Sometimes we can't see past the labeling. Sometimes we give up on something because it doesn't look like it's supposed to look. To repurpose something, to build it in a different way to get that solution. And that's what I saw in this lesson. And then my mother gave me the age-appropriate, non-OSHA certified chemistry set, where I created the most incredible explosion in her living room. It went a little something like this. She went like, here you go, son. Here's a chemistry set. Make sure you read the instructions. I took the instructions over my head, I threw them, and I created the most incredible explosion, burned a hole in her carpet. She came over and had a strong hand in my development. She was from downtown. But that moment, it galvanized me. It told me that I can mix these dissimilar chemicals together to create something powerful. It activated my brain. I got in trouble, but it was okay because I knew what it meant to be a scientist. I could now be a scientist. All I needed was goggles and a lab coat, right? And so these experiences that we have, these experiences that I had as a child, helped me on my path of not giving up and believing in myself. I love sports. I love playing football. And my high school year, how many football fans in here? Any football fans in here? Okay, a few of you. So I was a wide receiver on a running team. So if you know anything about football, that means I block a lot, right? So my homecoming game, we're down by a touchdown. You guys work with me here. I'm running down the sideline. Y'all scream. The crowd is screaming. I'm running down the sideline. The ball is coming into my hands. By a show of hands, how many of you think I dropped the ball? By a show of hands, how many think I caught the ball? By a show of hands, who doesn't really care? The rest of you, okay. So I dropped the ball in the end zone, homecoming game, friends and family there. I felt this big. I walked to the sideline, and my coach looks me in the eyes and he says, Leland, he grabs my face and says, Leland, I believe in you. Go catch the ball. Coach, I suck. I'm going to sit down. I'm embarrassed. I don't want to get out there. I'm afraid. He says, go back out there. I take the same play out to the huddle. Running down the sideline the second time, the crowd is screaming. The ball's coming to my hands. This time, I'm laser beam focused and can read Spalding on the side of the ball. I catch the ball. We win the game. And unbeknownst to me, there was a college scout from the University of Richmond looking to see if I could play for the Spiders. When I dropped the first pass, he walked out of the stadium. When he heard the crowd screaming the second time, he looked back in the stadium, and he saw this guy doing a little dance, in the end zone. And he said, that guy failed in such a horrific way. His friends, his family were there, his homecoming game, but he didn't give up. Maybe he can play for us. That one catch resulted in a $180,000 scholarship to the University of Richmond because someone believed in me. And throughout my journey, I was always told, I think I can. It was inside of me, I just didn't know it at the time. And that led to University of Richmond. I already knew how to blow things up as a chemist, as a young chemist, so I majored in chemistry. And my freshman year, we went 0-10, goose egg in 10. It was like this crazy time, but I kept going. We turned it around. And my senior year, I got drafted to play with the Detroit Lions. Any Detroit Lions fans in here? Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm not a fan. They cut me, so I pulled a hamstring in training camp, and that was the end of my Lions career. But I started graduate school in material science engineering at UVA, and then I went to play with the Dallas Cowboys. Any Cowboys fans? Okay, they cut me too, so no allegiance there. So tried some football, went back and finished my master's degree in material science, and then what every former NFL player does, what do? They go work for NASA, right? So worked in fiber optic sensors, using optical fibers as strain, temperature, and chemical species sensors to wrap around these external tanks and these embedded tanks for measuring, these multi-measurements for looking at damage in aerospace vehicles. And I did this for a little while, and a friend of mine said, Leland, you'd be a great astronaut. Here's our draw tower for making optical fiber sensors with lasers and things. He said, you'd be a great astronaut. And I just looked at him and was like, really, me, an astronaut? He handed me an application. I didn't fill it out. And I said, I'm not going to be an astronaut. I threw it away. That same year, another friend of mine filled the application out, and he got in. His name was Charlie Camarda. And I said to myself, wait a minute. If that knucklehead can get in, I can get in. So I applied the next election, and I got in. And if you guys can see me in the picture anywhere, it's 362 U.S. astronauts. I am in there somewhere. Can you find me? On the right, in the middle. It's a big screen. Come on. Where am I? In the middle? To the right? Well, if you can't find me there, can you find me now? In the front? In the right? I'm up there somewhere. Can you find me? So here's, if you can't find me, there I am in the back there. So 25 astronauts were selected out of 2,500 people. Lots of testing, psychological, physical, and the big test was to sit around a table with people who have actually walked on the moon, John Young, to tell them what you've done significant in your life to try to impress them to become an astronaut. And I guess I had done something right, so I got in the Corps. When you get in the Corps, you actually do land survival training, water survival training, you do all this different training. You fly on a zero-G airplane, and we call it the vomit comet because some people get sick. I did not, but you can do all these things. And after the training, I went to Moscow to work with the first crew that was going to the International Space Station. Bill Shepard's in the middle, he's a Navy SEAL. Yuri Gudzinko was the pilot on the right, and Sergei Krikalev was the engineer on the left. Getting them ready to fly in space for Expedition 1, the first expedition. And when they launched, I came back home and it was ready for me to start training. The first training that I was going to do was in this thing called the Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory. It's a 5 million gallon pool that has a submerged space station and space shuttle. We wear this suit that's a cross between a Michelin Man and a Pillsbury Doughboy. It's our EVA suit. And in this suit, there's a styrofoam block that you use to clear your ears, if you're the kind of person that needs to squeeze to clear your ears. They forgot to put mine in. We went down about 20 feet. I told the test director to turn the volume up in the headset. At that point, I felt myself getting pulled out of the pool. The doctor comes over to me, and he's talking, and he's moving his lips. And I think he's playing with me because I can't hear anything he's saying. They pop my helmet off. He comes over, touches my right ear, and the blood just flows down the side of my face. I am completely deaf. Something happened in that transit going down and coming up that rendered me deaf. And it's kind of hard to fly if you're a deaf astronaut. They took me to the hospital. They did emergency surgery. They looked around, pushed on my stay-piece, looked to see if my oval and circular windows were damaged, to see if there was something called a perianal fistula, things were leaking out. Everything was intact. No one knew what had happened. And after the surgery, these are the faces of my doctors when I woke up from the anesthesia. I knew that things were not too good. About 3 weeks later, my hearing came back, but the doctors didn't know why or what happened. So I was medically disqualified to fly in space. They said, you will never fly in space. And my friends told me I should quit, sue NASA, write the tell-all book and get paid. And I'm like, no, that's not me. I'm not going to do that. And so but while in the hospital, the NASA administrator, Daniel Goldman, came to see me. He was flying to Colorado, Civic Aerospace, and stopped in Houston before going back to DC, and he said, we had a problem with the Hubble Space Telescope. When it was first launched, it needed corrective glasses because the mirror was ground incorrectly, and so it had this problem, almost like cataracts. And he said that we never gave up on the Hubble telescope. We figured out, a community of people came together and figured out how to fix it in spacesuits with bulky gloves. This vehicle was never meant to be fixed with astronauts doing spacewalks. And so he wrote me this note saying, you know, the first image taken by the Hubble was 7,000 light years away from Earth. It's 1 light year in length. It's called the Eagles Nebula. It's the nursery where stars are actually born. And he was trying to inspire me and motivate me and tell me that, you know, I've never given up on Hubble. I will never give up on you. He even gave me a copy of this picture, and he wrote his cell phone on the back of it. And he said, call me anytime you need something. And I was thinking about calling him one day, and then he got fired. I'm like, oh man. It's like, my man in the yellow hat is gone, right? So I'm trying to figure out what to do. They're trying to figure out what to do with me because the doctors still will not let me fly. They send me to Washington, D.C. to work in education. We're trying to inspire teachers, kids to nominate their teachers to become astronauts. And so I go there, and I'm driving back from D.C. to my home in Lynchburg, Virginia. I get a phone call from my boss, who's new to NASA. She says, Leland, the countdown clock is now counting up. And I knew at that point that all my friends on Space Shuttle Columbia were dead. I turned around, I drove back to DC. I then went to the parents' home of David Brown. He's the astronaut in the top left corner. Went to his parents' house the night of the accident to console them, to figure out what to say to them after this such tragic, tragic loss of our friends and family. And I'll never forget what happened. I hugged his mom, Dottie. I started crying. I reached down to hug his father, Judge Brown, and he turned to me and he looked up and he said, Leland, he said, the biggest tragedy would be if we don't continue to fly in space to honor their legacy. And at that moment, I thought, well, I'm not flying. I'm not medically qualified to fly. And I'm going to have to figure out what way I will honor that legacy. And so from that point, we fly in the NASA airplane to the different memorial services around the country to honor our fallen heroes. And on every takeoff and landing, I noticed a gentleman sitting to the right of me, taking notes. And when I'm ready to leave NASA headquarters to fly back to Houston to figure out what I'm going to do with my life as a non-flying astronaut, the flight surgeon, who is the head of all the flight surgeons, calls me in his office and he says, Leland, I believe in you. Here's a waiver for you to fly in space. And I think if you stay the course, if you believe in yourself, if you don't give up, if you surround yourself with a community of people that have your back, those are the things that happen. Having that faith and belief that those things can happen. And I went home, I took this piece of paper, look what I got, you know, to the flight surgeons, and soon after that, I got assigned to a flight, STS-122. When you get assigned to a flight, they allow you to bring your family in to take a picture in your orange pumpkin suit, right? But my family was in Virginia, so I was trying to figure out, you know, who am I going to take with me? So I get to the photo lab, and I say, why don't I take my dogs? So I sneak them into the back. They're barking. I've got milk bones. They're eating. Everything's working out. When they stop barking, I get in the suit. I walk over to the chair, and they start running towards me. And I tell the photographer to start shooting. Hold the shutter. Just hold it. And I get this picture. And this is what I think of every time I look up at the night sky, every time I think of, you know, innovation, building, creating. I think of trying to get my dogs to space and trying to ensure that we inspire the next generation of explorers. And so STS-122, February 7th, this is our crew going up. We went up in Space Shuttle Atlantis. It was an incredible launch, 3, 2, 1 liftoff. You're shaking, you're rattling. Your head is moving so fast that when you look at the screens, they look like squiggly lines. And at about 2.5 minutes, the solid rocket boosters jettison, and now the ride gets much smoother. You feel about 3 Gs through your chest. You now are in space after 8.5 minutes. We get there. This is the space station coming up about 3 miles away. My job was to use that robotic arm in the top right corner of the space station to install a Columbus laboratory, which had been, the European Space Agency had been waiting 10 years to get this installed. And when I got this assignment, the German flight controllers who are going to be working this mission were in Houston in mission control. And the flight director called me to come over and to meet the flight controllers, and they're like high-fiving me and chest bumping me and like, "You're going to install our baby, right?" I said, "Yeah, you know." And so I walk over, and this one guy, he's blocking my exit. He's not letting me get out of the way, I'm like, "Can I help you, sir?" He says, "Mr. Melvin, we've been waiting 10 years. Don't screw it up." So I get to space. We're installing the Columbus laboratory. I'm pulling it out of the payload bay of the shuttle using the robotic hand controllers, and everything's going really, really well. And then we get it closer and closer to the station, and the motion just stops. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, "Don't screw it up, Leland." But the ready-to-latch indicators, there are 4 ready-to-latch indicators that let you know if you're in alignment as you get closer. There was enough spring force in those ready-to-latch indicators to push on the vehicle to keep it from getting installed. One little pull on the hand controller, it was now docked to the space station, and everyone in Europe was like, "Leland, Leland, Leland." I thought that would be my aha moment, installing this Columbus laboratory, our #1 objective for the mission. This paled in comparison to what happened next. Peggy Whitson, the first female commander in the green shirt in the middle, she invited us over to dinner in the Russian segment. She said, "You guys bring the rehydrated vegetables, we'll have the meat." So we float over with a bag of vegetables. We get there. There's African American, Asian American, French, German, Russian, the first female commander, breaking bread at 17,500 miles per hour, going around the planet every 90 minutes, seeing a sunrise and a sunset every 45, all while listening to Sade's Smooth Operator. It blew my mind, right? And like, "Smooth Operator," And so we're having this meal, and I look out the window in my hometown, Virginia, and I'm thinking my family's down there breaking bread, our community's celebrating me being in space, and 5 minutes later, we're over Paris, where Leo Eilhart's is from. And it's, they're probably having some cheese and a little wine and something, And then Yuri's looking off to Moscow. In this one little pass around our planet, we're all connected back to the planet. And let's just know that if we work together as one family, that we can do amazing things. If I flip the wrong switch, everyone dies. Everyone dies. And that's why we're so bonded. And I just wish we could get this perspective shift that we all get, this cognitive shift in our heads, and bring that back down to the earth. Because we all need to know we need to work together as one family and one team. And that's the handiwork after I docked the space station, the Columbus laboratory to the space station. We were about to come home, and we decided to do a little experiment with water and M&Ms. Take a look at this. Well, after you show your jerseys, right? Cowboys and Lions, even though they cut me, I did have to take their jerseys to space. But here's a little video of what we do in space without water.
Workout dinner's gonna be. Yeah. It's gonna fire me something.
Wow. All right.
Bike.
Yeah. Whoa.
Oh man, you guys.
All right. Here, this is space food.
An M&M
Wait,
sandwich.
Food,
Let me
yeah.
do that before you start doing that. Too late.
That looks yummy. Yeah, that's my sandwich, man.
We need to do a cross
dessert
cam
sandwich. Good contact.
Hazardous. Hazardous. That's a good one, It's got a nice bubble in it, too. Here you go, Dan. They had
have to separate the straw somehow. Oh, there's M&M's floating up there.
You know what for in there.
It has to be big. It has to be small enough to be able to eat in one hit.
Yeah.
Oh, a surface one. Look at that.
Surface.
Have we seen a surface one?
Very cool.
Two
Well,
surface.
Hang on a second. Let's get this one. Whoa. Whoa. Sorry, dude. Oh.
That's gonna be a meal, man.
Knock one out.
It's like, really not get through. It's like croquet.
No, or I was.
Billiards. Are you ready for separation?
Wait.
Separate. Hold on, one more.
Oh man.
Dude.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Curling. That's gonna be a meal, man.
Yeah.
That's 2 sips.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, don't choke on it.
Good blobology.
Go for it, L-Dog. You got
it. Whoa, almost on the wind.
I know. Water than you think.
So I get to space safely. I install the Columbus laboratory. I almost choked to death on a water bubble. And my mother saw this video. She's a home economics teacher. She was like, Leland, you could have choked to death. I've never taught you to put that much food in your mouth. She was ready to do this again. You know? So that was my first mission. Had another mission, 2009. We did some incredible things, installed some parts in space. But the thing that was so important to me was that we did it with people from all over the world. And the first time 2 African-American men were in space at the same time. We worked together, we played football. We actually flipped the Super Bowl coin in space. Let me show you this to you. This is what it looks like. Super Bowl coin, 2010. This is how you flip a coin in space. We're on the International Space Station with Commander Williams and Commander Hobaugh. Commander Williams is representing the AFC, Army, and Commander Hobaugh is representing the Navy, the NFC. We're going to do a coin toss here. Here are both sides of the coin. This is heads. This is tails. Do you guys do understand?
We see them.
Okay, here we go. The coin's gone. How are we going to decide?
Never gonna land.
Okay, well, let's do rocks, paper, scissors. All right. On 3, and then we shoot.
3.
1, 2, 3. What are you doing, man? On 3, shoot.
Whoa, 3 and then shoot. That was right.
Okay, all right.
Let's do it again.
1, 2, 3, shoot. Ah! Go Navy. We gotta go find that coin though. All right, let's go. So this time, I ended up lacerating the top of my head as I hit the top of the space station. My mother was not happy with that either. So, but you know, all of this exploration is about us. You know, again, as I keep saying, working together, looking at the planet from this vantage point. You see the Middle East. There's no fighting. There are no wars there. It's all of us working together as one family. And we all know what's going on down on planet Earth. But I think if we try to get this perspective shift to push it down, to make a difference, to change things, will make us better. The Andes Mountains, this is the thin blue line that keeps us alive. That little blue line is our atmosphere that we sometimes take for granted. And this is my hometown, Lynchburg, Virginia, from night. The footprint that we leave as human beings on this planet, the lights that we turn on at night, are the outline of what we see of humanity on our planet. It's incredible to see that. In my last moment as an astronaut, I was at the Texans game. Any Texans fans in here? Okay, a few. Well, I never played for them, so they never cut me, so go Texans. I brought Andre Johnson's jersey home, and we had flown into space. And so I just want to tell you, I'm all about helping inspire the next generation. What you do to bring this broadband into people's homes helps kids see the possibilities of their future. And I thank you for doing that, because there's so many people that need this access so that they can know that they'll have passionate learning experiences and they'll be able to think of themselves as being astronauts or whatever they want to do. And it will give that community the chance to make a difference on our planet. So I thank you for your time. Godspeed on your journey. Keep inspiring and motivating and using this technology to make a difference in the lives of all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Leland. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Very inspiring. Thank you. So that was wonderful. By the way, I don't know if any of you knew this, but the coin flip video was actually inspiration for Carl's Bitcoin video. You see the connection there. Trying to pull the whole conference together. But that was really, really, really wonderful. You know, it's a story of reinvention, perseverance, and community. As Leland said, it's really any big transformation, any great innovation requires someone to take a first step, to take a risk. And one of the things that I was thinking about at the end of the conference was Václav Havel. For those of you who know him, he was president of the Czech Republic after the fall of the Iron Curtain and the end of communist domination. And he had a saying where he said, it's not enough to stare up the steps, you have to step up the stairs. And it's usually that first step that's the hardest. And when we look at everything we've talked about over the last couple of days, right? The opportunity to completely transform your network and transform your business, the opportunity to stake out a much more meaningful role in the future of your subscribers' experience. There's a lot of risks there, there's a lot of change, there's a lot of transformation. But if you step up the stair and you stumble, there's a lot of people who are here to help, and we're here to help. So I really encourage you to think about everything that we've seen and heard about and talked about over the last couple of days. Certainly encourage you to enjoy the rest of the conference. But just know that we're here to help you take that first step. So thank you very much. I will close the conference by saying, please plan to join us again next year. I know you won't be disappointed. Have a great rest of the conference and a safe journey home. Thank you.